The chevrons locked in sequence, each mechanical clang echoing through Cheyenne Mountain's gate room with practiced precision. Colonel Jack O'Neill stood at the base of the ramp, P-90 ready, watching the seventh symbol slide into place with the same mix of anticipation and wariness that had become routine after 5 years of stepping through the Stargate. The event horizon erupted outward in its familiar kawoosh before settling into that impossible vertical pool of shimmering blue. SG-1, you have a go, General Hammond's voice crackled through the speakers. Jack glanced at his team, Carter checking her equipment with scientific precision, Daniel adjusting his glasses while clutching some artifact they'd recovered, TLC standing statue still with staff weapon ready. Another day, another planet, another. Reality hiccuped. The gate room's fluorescent lights flickered. The event horizon rippled like disturbed water. And between one heartbeat and the next, a blue box materialized 3 feet from the Stargate ramp. It was impossible. Objects didn't just appear in the gate room. The iris was open for their return, yes, but this hadn't come through the gate. It had simply arrived. The box was tall, roughly phone booth shaped, painted a blue that seemed to shift in the harsh military lighting. White paned windows at the top. A light that pulsed once, twice, then went dark. Words painted across the top. Police public call box. Unscheduled materialization, someone shouted from the control room, which was possibly the understatement of the year. Airmen poured into the gate room, weapons trained on the impossible box. Jack raised his P-90, flanking left while TLC moved right with practiced teamwork. Carter had her Zat out, eyes wide with something between shock and scientific fascination. That didn't come through the gate, she breathed. Yeah, Carter, we noticed, Jack replied. Daniel, please tell me this is some kind of ancient party trick you forgot to mention. No. Jack, this is completely, Daniel pushed his glasses up. There's no record of anything like this. The Stargate shut down behind them with its usual whoosh, the mission temporarily forgotten. The box sat silent in the middle of the gate room, seemingly inert. Polished wood door. A small sign that read, Pull TO open. Completely, utterly, impossibly out of place in the most secure military installation in the country. Sir, sensors didn't detect any energy signature before it appeared, an airman called from the control room. It just happened. I'm getting readings now though, Carter said, pulling out her scientific scanner, unable to resist. General, this is reading energy signatures I've never seen before. Dimensional variances. Temporal distortions. Sir, this thing is. The door opened. A man stepped out, and Jack's first thought was that whoever he was, he'd raided the wardrobe department of a Victorian costume drama. Long coat, dark colors, well-worn boots. Hair that suggested he'd recently stuck his finger in a light socket, or possibly just didn't care. But it was the expression that caught Jack's attention, that particular mix of curiosity and delight that Daniel got when he found a new dead language to translate. The man's gaze swept the gate room, taking in the Stargate, the assembled weapons, the blast doors, the clearly military nature of their installation. His expression shifted through several emotions too quickly to track before settling on what might have been concerned apology. Ah, the man said, in an accent Jack couldn't quite place. This is, not Raxacoricophilippatus. Or anywhere near it, really. I do apologize for the intrusion. The TARDIS seems to have gotten a bit confused by your rather impressive space-folding technology there. He gestured at the Stargate with obvious appreciation. Brilliant design, actually. Not Time Lord work, but definitely advanced. The interference pattern alone is. On your knees, hands behind your head. Jack ordered, P-90 trained center mass. Now. The man blinked at him, seemed to actually notice the dozen weapons pointed his direction for the first time, and raised both hands in a peaceful gesture. No visible weapons. In one hand he held a small metallic device that looked vaguely like a pen with a glowing blue tip. Right, Yes, of course. Military installation, unscheduled arrival, very alarming. I completely understand. The man carefully knelt, placing the metallic device on the floor beside him. Though I should mention, I'm not actually a threat. Quite the opposite, usually. The doctor, by the way. Just, the doctor. And I really am terribly sorry about dropping in unannounced. Spacetime gets a bit wobbly around quantum tunneling devices like your Stargate, and when I tried to materialize on Raxacoricophilopatus. Lovely planet, bit of a methane atmosphere issue, but the Raxacoricophilopatians are charming once you get past the calcium-based biology and political corruption. The TARDIS caught your gate's activation signature and, well, here we are. Cheyenne Mountain, Colorado, Earth, if I'm reading the temporal coordinates correctly. Lovely planet, Earth. I've always been fond of it. Saved it a few times, actually. Different contexts, of course, but... Carter, what the hell is a TARDIS? Jack interrupted, not lowering his weapon. I don't know, sir. But if what he's saying is accurate about spacetime interference with the gate. Carter was staring at the box with open fascination. Sir, if that thing can dematerialize and rematerialize, and it reacted to our gate activation, we're talking about technology that's currently under about 20 guns, Jack finished. Keep it that way. He raised his voice. You. Doctor. Whatever. You're coming with us. Try anything funny, Anne. You'll shoot me, yes, I gathered that from the rather impressive arsenal pointed my direction. The doctor's expression remained surprisingly calm for someone in his position. Though I should warn you, I'm not exactly human. Well, I look human, or rather you look Time Lord, since we were around first, but the point is bullets might not work quite the way you're expecting. 2 hearts, respiratory bypass system, and I really would rather not have to regenerate in a military complex. Very messy, lots of energy discharge, and you'd have to explain the property damage. TLC's eyebrow rose fractionally. He is Goa'uld. No. The doctor's head snapped toward TLC, genuine alarm crossing his features. No, absolutely not. Time Lord, not Goa'uld. Though I appreciate the concern, I've heard of your System Lords during my research on this sector. Parasitic species posing as gods, enslaving populations through superior technology and psychological manipulation. Absolutely reprehensible behavior, and nothing like Time Lord society. We had our own problems, certainly, but we never. How do you know about the Goa'uld? Daniel asked sharply, moving closer despite Jack's warning glance. The doctor met Daniel's gaze with sudden seriousness. Because I've been traveling this galaxy for, well, a very long time. And because I make it my business to know about species that enslave others and claim divinity they haven't earned. Now, if you'll give me a moment to explain, I think we can clear up this misunderstanding and possibly help each other. I'm assuming from the Stargate, the military presence, and your friend's knowledge of the Goa'uld that you're the ones fighting back against them. The Tauri, yes. Earth's Stargate program. Oh, this is brilliant. I'd heard rumors through the temporal archives that Earth had reactivated their gate, but to actually be here. His expression brightened despite the weapons trained on him. You're at war with the System Lords. You're using ancient technology you barely understand to fight an empire that's enslaved the galaxy for millennia. You're absurdly outgunned, completely out of your depth, and you're still stepping through that gate every day to explore and fight and save people. The doctor smiled then, genuine and warm. Humanity. You magnificent, reckless, impossible species. Of course you are. Jack exchanged glances with Carter, who looked like she'd just discovered a new element. Daniel was leaning forward, clearly desperate to ask about 1,000 things. TLC remained impassive, but Jack had worked with him long enough to recognize the analytical assessment happening behind those eyes. General Hammond, Jack said toward the control room. We're going to need a holding cell, a full security team, and probably every scientist we've got. Because either we've just caught ourselves an alien with information about the Goa'uld, or we've got the galaxy's best con artist in our gate room. I prefer interstellar peace negotiator actually, the doctor offered. And I really would like my sonic screwdriver back when you're done scanning it. Very hard to replace, sonic screwdrivers have to be properly calibrated to the user's temporal signature and... Yeah, you can explain it to our scientists in the holding cell, Jack interrupted. On your feet. Nice and slow. As airmen moved in to secure him, the doctor stood cooperatively, casting one last glance at the blue box. Do try to be careful with her. The TARDIS is a bit temperamental at the best of times, and your Naquata generators are giving her indigestion. I'd hate for her to dematerialize unexpectedly. Very awkward to explain where your gate room wall went. Jack looked at Carter. Did he just threaten our base? I think he threatened the base with indigestion, sir, Carter replied, clearly suppressing scientific excitement with effort. Even better. Jack gestured toward the blast doors. Move him out. And somebody get me a really strong cup of coffee, because this day just got way more complicated than ancient artifacts and hostile aliens. If you want to see more characters enter different universes, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you'd want to see them in down in the comments below. Indeed. The doctor was escorted toward the blast doors, already talking a mile a minute about space-time mechanics and dimensional engineering, while his impossible blue box sat in the middle of the gate room, containing who knew what. Jack O'Neill had faced system lords, replicators, and death itself more times than he cared to count. But somehow, he suspected this particular alien was going to be a whole different kind of problem. The holding cell was standard military issue, reinforced walls, single chair bolted to the floor, observation window with armed guards stationed outside. The doctor sat in the chair with the air of someone waiting for tea rather than interrogation, fingers drumming an intricate rhythm against his knee that Carter recognized as prime number sequences. Jack stood on the other side of the observation glass, watching their unexpected guest through narrowed eyes. General Hammond stood beside him, arms crossed, radiating the particular brand of patience that came from years of dealing with alien encounters that defied explanation. Sir, preliminary scans of the TARDIS are showing some remarkable readings, Carter reported, tablet in hand. The box is dimensionally transcendental. The interior space is folded outside normal spacetime. It's bigger on the inside, possibly infinitely so. The power source is... I don't even have a reference point. It makes a Naquata reactor look like a flashlight battery. And the device he was carrying? Hammond asked. The sonic screwdriver. It's a multifunctional tool, scanner, lockpick, remote manipulator. Works on sound waves at frequencies that can interact with most forms of technology. No offensive capability that we can detect, but it could potentially override our security systems if he understood our tech base well enough. Carter looked up from her tablet. Sir, if what he's claiming is true about being non-human, about this TARDIS traveling through space and time, we need to verify his biology before we proceed. Dr. Fraser is standing by, Hammond confirmed. Colonel O'Neill, your assessment. Jack took a long moment before answering, watching the doctor hum softly to himself in the cell. He's either exactly what he says he is, some kind of time-traveling alien who accidentally crashed our gate room. Or he's the most elaborate Goa'uld spy operation we've ever seen. His knowledge of the Goa'uld is too specific. He knew about the System Lords, the enslavement, even called us Tauri. That's not common knowledge. The Takare share intelligence with us, TLC observed, standing with his hands clasped behind his back. It is possible other races also monitor Goa'uld activity. Or he's been watching us, Jack countered. Sitting up there in his magic box, learning our weaknesses, figuring out how to infiltrate the SGC. Show up acting friendly, pretend to hate the Goa'uld, gain our trust, and boom. Trojan horse right in the heart of our operation. Daniel had been quiet, staring at the doctor with open fascination. Now he spoke up. Jack, I don't think he's Goa'uld. His body language is all wrong. Goa'uld posture for dominance even when they're pretending submission. He's curious. Look at how he's examining the cell. Not looking for weaknesses, he's studying the construction, the materials. That's scientific interest, not tactical assessment. Daniel's got a point, Carter added. And sir, the technology in that box, if he wanted to harm us, I don't think conventional walls would stop him. The fact that he cooperated, let us bring him here, gave up his sonic screwdriver without resistance, that suggests he's being honest about not being a threat. Hammond was silent for a long moment, the weight of command evident in his expression. Finally, he nodded. Colonel, take your team in. Get his story. Dr. Fraser will conduct a medical examination afterward. But I want security maintained at all times. Yes, sir. Jack straightened. Carter, Daniel, TLC, with me. Let's find out what we're really dealing with. The doctor looked up as they entered, his expression brightening immediately. Ah, excellent. I was beginning to think you'd forgotten about me. Though I have been having a fascinating time examining your force field generator, that's what's humming at approximately 42 Hz, yes. Clever application of alternating electromagnetic pulses. Not quite as elegant as a temporal stasis field, but serviceable for containing physical entities. He paused. I'm babbling again, aren't I? I do that when I'm nervous. Or excited. Or both, really, which is the current situation. You're probably here for explanations, which I'm happy to provide, though I should warn you that temporal mechanics can get a bit complicated for species who experience time linearly. Jack pulled up a chair, straddling it backward in a deliberately casual pose that was anything but. Let's start simple. Who are you, really? I told you. The doctor. Doctor what? Just the doctor. The man's expression remained pleasant but firm. It's what I've been called for, a very long time. I'm a Time Lord, from the planet Gallifrey. We are, a civilization that mastered time travel and dimensional engineering roughly 1 billion years ago, give or take a few millennia. I travel through space and time in that blue box you've got secured in your gate room, which is called a TARDIS. Time and relative dimension in space. She's a Type 40, bit outdated by Gallifreyan standards, but we've been through a lot together. Time travel, Jack said flatly. You're claiming you can time travel? Well, yes. That's rather the defining characteristic of a TARDIS and Time Lords generally. The doctor leaned forward. Though I should clarify. I don't interfere with established history. Fixed points in time must remain fixed. It's one of the laws of time. I can observe, I can visit periods that are in flux, but I don't, for instance, go back and prevent major catastrophes from occurring. Well, mostly don't. There have been exceptions, but they tend to cause temporal paradoxes that require significant effort to untangle. Carter's eyes had gone wide. You're talking about violation of causality. Temporal paradoxes. If you can really travel through time, then I could tell you how this war with the Goa'uld ends. The doctor's expression grew serious. I could, but I won't. Because knowing your future robs you of the ability to choose it. And because some of you might make different choices based on that knowledge, which would create a branching timeline and potential paradox. Time isn't a straight line, it's more like a ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. He grimaced. That sounded more eloquent in my head. The point is, I'm not here to interfere with your timeline. I ended up here by accident. Then why were you traveling near Earth? TLC asked, his tone neutral but watchful. I wasn't, specifically. I was heading to Raxacoricophilopedis in the Aesop galaxy, completely different sector of space, when the TARDIS detected your Stargate activation. The energy signature created an interference pattern with the time vortex, and instead of materializing where I intended, I materialized where the gravitational pull was strongest. Which happened to be your gate room during an active wormhole. He spread his hands apologetically. Bit like trying to land an aircraft during a hurricane. You end up where the winds take you. Daniel had been listening intently, and now he stepped forward. You said you knew about the Goa'uld. The System Lords. How? The doctor's expression darkened. Because I make it my business to know about parasitic species that enslave others and claim godhood. I've encountered the Goa'uld before, peripherally. Studied their empire from a distance. Never directly interfered, your galaxy, your species, your fight. But I've seen what they do. The slavery. The sarcophagi creating megalomaniacal dictators from beings who might have been simply parasites otherwise. The genetic engineering of humans into Jaffa warriors to serve as incubators and soldiers. It's monstrous. And it's been going on for millennia while more advanced species stood by under non-interference protocols. Like the Asgard, Carter said quietly. The Asgard are a complicated case. They're dying, genetic degradation from over-reliance on cloning. They've been fighting the replicators, which limits their ability to intervene directly against the Goa'uld. But yes, the Protected Planets Treaty is a band-aid on a severed artery. It saves a few dozen worlds while thousands more suffer. The doctor met each of their gazes in turn. Which is why what you're doing, stepping through that gate, fighting back despite being hopelessly outmatched, is so important. You're not accepting the status quo. You're not hiding behind non-interference protocols. You're acting. Jack studied the man carefully. The passion seemed genuine. The anger at the Goa'uld felt real. But 5 years of fighting a war against enemies who lied as easily as breathing had taught him caution. And what do you want from us? Want? Nothing, really. I'd like my TARDIS to finish recalibrating so I can leave without accidentally materializing inside a star or a black hole. I'd like my sonic screwdriver back. And... The doctor hesitated. I'd like to help, if you'll let me. I have knowledge of Goa'uld technology, their tactics, their history. I have a TARDIS that can travel to worlds you can't reach through the gate network. I'm a very good diplomat when the situation calls for it, and I'm decent in a crisis. You're fighting a war against an empire that's existed for thousands of years. Maybe an outside perspective could be useful. Or you're a Goa'uld spy, Jack countered. Elaborate cover story, impressive technology to sell the deception, all designed to get close to the SGC and learn our weaknesses. The doctor sighed. Yes, I anticipated that suspicion. Which is why I'm willing to submit to medical examination to prove I'm not carrying a Goa'uld symbiote. I'm also willing to let your scientists examine the TARDIS, within limits, to verify its capabilities. And I'm willing to demonstrate knowledge of the Goa'uld that would be difficult for a spy to fabricate. He looked at TLC. For instance, I know that you're Jaffa. Former first prime of Apophis, unless I'm mistaken. You carry a symbiote in your abdomen, I can hear its second heartbeat from here, actually. You betrayed your god to join the Tauri because you learned the Goa'uld were false gods. And you've been hunted as Cholvier, traitor, ever since. TLC's expression remained impassive, but Jack caught the slight tension in his shoulders. Your knowledge proves only that you have access to intelligence about the Jaffa rebellion. Many know of my betrayal. True. But how many know that Bratak, your mentor, is planning to expand the rebellion to Chulak within the next 3 months? Or that there's a significant faction of Jaffa priests who are beginning to question the divinity of the System Lords after witnessing inconsistencies in their behavior? The doctor's gaze was steady. I don't interfere directly, but I listen. I observe. And I remember. The room fell silent. Jack exchanged glances with Carter, who looked simultaneously thrilled and terrified by the implications. Daniel was practically vibrating with questions he was barely restraining. TLC's expression had shifted to something approaching respect. How? Daniel finally asked. How could you know that? Because I've been around for a very long time, Dr. Jackson. And because I've learned to pay attention when civilizations stand at crossroads. The doctor leaned back. Your planet, Earth, has been remarkable throughout its history. I've visited various points in your timeline, never interfering with fixed events, but observing. And now, in this era, you've not only reactivated your Stargate but you're using it to fight back against an empire that's terrorized this galaxy for millennia. That's not something I can ignore, even from a distance. Jack stood abruptly. We're going to verify everything you've said. Dar. Fraser is going to examine you. Our scientists are going to study that box. And if you're lying, if this is some elaborate Goa'uld trick, you're not leaving this mountain. Completely fair, the doctor agreed. Though I should warn you, Time Lord biology is quite different from human. 2 hearts, as I mentioned. Respiratory bypass system. Binary vascular system. Regenerative capability if mortally wounded, though it completely changes my appearance and personality, so let's avoid that if possible. Dr. Fraser might find the examination rather surprising. Carter spoke up. Sir, if we're bringing him to the infirmary, I'd like to be present. If his biology is as unique as he claims. Fine. But security stays with him at all times. Jack headed for the door, then paused. One more thing. You said you've saved Earth before. Different contexts. What did you mean? The doctor's expression grew distant, touched with something that might have been sorrow. There have been invasions. Threats. Moments when your planet stood at the edge of destruction. And sometimes, just sometimes, a traveler in a blue box was there to help push back. But those are stories for different timelines, different versions of events. You're Earth, you're now, you've got your own battles to fight. And from what I've seen so far, you're doing rather well on your own. Jack studied him for a long moment, trying to read truth from deception. Finally, he nodded. Let's see if your biology backs up your story. Move him to the infirmary. As security escorted the doctor out, Daniel hung back with Jack and TLC. Jack, if he's telling the truth. Then we've got a time-traveling alien with technology we can't begin to understand sitting in our base, Jack interrupted. Which is either the best thing that's ever happened to us, or the worst. And until we know which, we treat him like a potential threat. Indeed, TLC agreed. But if he speaks truth about the Jaffa rebellion, he has knowledge that could aid our cause significantly. Jack headed toward the infirmary, Carter falling into step beside him. Yeah, that's what worries me. Because if he knows that much about what's happening in the galaxy, what else does he know? And more importantly, what's he not telling us? Behind them, the holding cell stood empty, but in the gate room, the TARDIS continued its soft, rhythmic pulse, a sound just at the edge of hearing that made the technicians nervous and filled Carter with equal parts scientific fascination and dread. Whatever this doctor was, whatever he represented, one thing was certain, the Stargate program had just become infinitely more complicated. Dr. Janet Fraser had dealt with alien biology before, Goa'uld symbiotes, Jaffa physiology, even the peculiar cellular structure of replicators. But nothing had quite prepared her for the readings coming from the man sitting on her examination table with the patience of someone who'd endured medical scrutiny countless times before. 2 hearts, she said aloud, staring at the cardiac monitor. Fully functional, beating in a synchronized but offset rhythm. Your body temperature is lower than human normal, 15 degrees Celsius. Respiratory rate is half what it should be for your apparent mass. She looked up from her instruments. And according to this scanner, you have a respiratory bypass system that would allow you to survive in oxygen-depleted environments for extended periods. About 6 minutes, give or take, the doctor confirmed cheerfully. Very useful for unexpected decompressions or toxic atmospheres. Though I prefer breathing normally when possible. Much more relaxing. Carter stood beside Fraser, tablet in hand, recording every measurement with barely contained excitement. Jack leaned against the far wall, arms crossed, watching the proceedings with deep suspicion. TLC stood by the door, staff weapon held loosely but ready. Dr. Fraser, there's something else, Carter said, pointing to another readout. His cellular structure, it's regenerative beyond anything we've seen. The cells are constantly renewing themselves at a rate that would effectively prevent aging as we understand it. Well, slow it considerably, the doctor corrected. I do age, just very, very slowly by your standards. I'm currently. He paused, calculating. 904 years old. Roughly. I may have lost track during a few centuries. Time travel makes personal chronology complicated. The room fell silent. Even Jack's skeptical expression cracked slightly. 900 years, Daniel repeated from where he stood near the examination table, having insisted on being present. You're claiming you've lived for 9 centuries. And regenerated 8 times, the doctor added. That's the real trick of Time Lord biology. When we're mortally wounded or die of old age, every cell in our body regenerates simultaneously. Complete cellular renewal. I change, physically, mentally, personality shifts significantly. It's a bit like dying and being born simultaneously. Rather traumatic, actually, but it does prevent permanent death. For a while, anyway. We get 12 regenerations total, 13 lives. I'm on my 9th incarnation currently. Fraser exchanged glances with Carter. That's biologically impossible. For humans, certainly. For Time Lords, it's basic survival adaptation. Gallifrey wasn't, an easy planet. High radiation levels from our binary star system, temporal instabilities from our early experiments with time travel. We evolved, or engineered ourselves, to survive in conditions that would kill most carbon-based life. The doctor's expression grew distant. Though in the end, even regeneration couldn't save us from war. War. Daniel leaned forward. What happened to Gallifrey? The doctor's face closed off, pain flickering across his features before he masked it. That's a conversation for another time. The relevant point is that I'm not Goa'uld, not human, and not a threat to your facility. My biology alone should prove I'm exactly what I claim to be. Jack pushed off the wall. Or it proves you're a really exotic alien. Doesn't mean we can trust you. No, the doctor agreed quietly. Trust has to be earned. I understand that. You're fighting a war against an enemy that uses deception and infiltration as primary weapons. You'd be fools to take me at face value. He met Jack's gaze steadily. So what would you like me to do to prove my intentions? Before Jack could answer, the infirmary door burst open. A technician stood there, breathless. Colonel O'Neill, sir. General Hammond needs you in the gate room immediately. We've got a problem with the alien's box. The TARDIS had moved. Not far, only a few feet, but enough that the security team stationed around it had panicked. It now sat at a different angle, the light on top pulsing softly, and a low humming sound filled the gate room that made the fillings in several technicians' teeth ache. It started about 5 minutes ago, the gate technician explained as Jack's team entered, the doctor walking between 2 armed guards. The box just shifted. Like it was settling. Then the humming started. We've tried moving it back, but it weighs several tons despite its apparent size. The doctor's expression had shifted to concern. Oh no. She's trying to recalibrate her position relative to your Naquata generators. The temporal feedback is destabilizing her dimensional anchors. He looked at Jack urgently. I need to get inside. Now. If she fully destabilizes, she could phase partially out of sync with your spacetime, and trust me, you don't want that happening inside a mountain. What would happen? Carter asked. Best case. She damages your gate room when she dematerializes. Worst case. She takes a significant portion of Cheyenne Mountain with her into the time vortex, leaving a rather impressive crater and a lot of very confused geologists. The doctor gestured at the pulsing box. Please. I can stabilize her, but I need access to the console. Jack looked at Hammond, who'd been observing from the control room. The general's voice came through the speakers. Do it. But Colonel, security stays with him. If this is a trick, we shoot him before he can escape. Got it, sir. Jack nodded to the guards. Stay on him. He tries anything, zat him. The doctor hurried to the TARDIS, pulling the door open. The interior light spilled out, and Jack caught a glimpse of something impossible, a vast space where no space should exist, gold and coral walls stretching far beyond what the box's exterior dimensions could contain. Carter gasped audibly. It really is bigger on the inside, she breathed. Dimensionally transcendental, the doctor called back, already moving to what appeared to be a hexagonal console in the center of the impossible room. His hands flew across crystalline controls, adjusting settings with practiced ease. The interior exists in a separate dimension, folded into the exterior shell. It's not actually defying physics, it's exploiting them. Jack followed cautiously, P90 raised, his mind struggling to process the contradiction of stepping through a door into a space that shouldn't exist. The room, if it could be called a room, was vast, circular, with a central console that looked like a combination of a pipe organ and a particularly artistic seizure. Screens and readouts lined the walls, showing star systems and mathematical equations in languages Jack didn't recognize. TLC entered behind him, stopping short. This is impossible. Yeah, we're getting that a lot today, Jack muttered. The doctor worked frantically at the console, the humming sound gradually decreasing in pitch. There we go, that's better. Dimensional stabilizers compensating for Naquadah interference. Temporal buffers adjusting to local spacetime constants. She's calming down. He patted the console affectionately. Sorry, old girl. I know their technology gives you indigestion. Carter had entered, her scientific fascination overriding caution. She moved toward the console, eyes wide, taking in every detail. Doctor, this is incredible. The dimensional engineering alone would require energy levels we can't even theorize about. The math behind folding space like this is quite complex, yes, but not beyond your understanding. Give you a few centuries and the right equations, and humans could probably build something similar. The doctor finished his adjustments, and the humming ceased. The TARDIS settled with an almost audible sigh. There. Stabilized. She won't accidentally dematerialize or phase shift now. Though I'd recommend keeping your Naquadah reactors at least 50 meters away from her if possible. The dimensional resonance creates feedback loops. Daniel had entered last, spinning slowly to take in the impossible interior. This is, how? How is this possible? Time Lord engineering. We've had a few million years to work on it. The doctor turned from the console, expression serious now. Colonel O'Neill, I've stabilized the TARDIS, as promised. I could leave right now if I wanted to, you couldn't stop me. The TARDIS can dematerialize faster than your weapons could track, and once we're in the time vortex, you'd never find us. But I'm not leaving. I'm staying here, in your gate room, with your guards watching me, because I meant what I said. I want to help. Jack studied him, the P90 still trained center mass. The doctor stood calmly, hands away from the controls, making no threatening moves. Behind him, the impossible interior of the TARDIS stretched into shadows and soft golden light. Why? Jack finally asked. You've got a time machine. You could go anywhere, anywhen. Why stay here and get involved in our war? The doctor's expression grew somber. Because I've fought wars. I've seen what happens when evil is allowed to spread unchecked because no one wanted to get involved. The Goa'uld have enslaved this galaxy for thousands of years. Billions of lives spent in servitude to false gods. And yes, the Asgard have their protected planets treaty. The TARDIS work as spies and insurgents. The Jaffa rebellion is growing. But you, the Tauri, you're the ones actually fighting back directly. You're the ones stepping through that gate every day, risking everything, to push back against an empire. He paused. I've lost my own people. My planet. I couldn't save them. But maybe I can help save yours. And all the others suffering under Goa'uld rule. The gate room had fallen silent except for the soft ambient hum of the TARDIS. Jack looked at his team. Carter's eyes shining with scientific wonder and hope, Daniel's expression full of empathy and curiosity, TLC's measured assessment that seemed to have shifted toward acceptance. Hammond's voice broke the silence. Colonel, a word. Control room. Jack backed toward the TARDIS door, not lowering his weapon. Daniel, Carter, TLC, stay with him. He moves toward those controls, stop him. I'll just stand here, shall I? The doctor offered, raising his hands slightly. Very still. Not touching anything. In the control room, Hammond stood with his hands clasped behind his back, looking down at the gate room where the impossible blue box sat with an alien who claimed to be 900 years old inside it. Sir, I know what you're thinking, Jack began. Do you, Colonel? Because I'm thinking we have an alien with technology beyond anything we've encountered, claiming to want to help us, who could leave at any moment but hasn't. I'm thinking about Dar. Fraser's medical report confirming his biology is genuinely non-human and non-Goa'uld. I'm thinking about Major Carter's assessment that the dimensional engineering in that box represents a technological level we might never reach. And I'm thinking about the intelligence he's already provided about the Jaffa rebellion that we haven't been able to verify yet but that TLC seems to believe is accurate. Jack waited. Hammond continued. I'm also thinking about the risk of allowing an unknown alien access to our base, our personnel, and our operations. The potential for this to be an elaborate deception. The fact that we know virtually nothing about his species, his true motivations, or what he might want in exchange for his help. So what's the call, sir? Hammond was quiet for a long moment, watching the doctor stand patiently in the TARDIS while Carter peppered him with questions about dimensional physics. Finally, he turned to Jack. We test him. Controlled exposure. He wants to help. Fine. We take him off-world. A simple mission, low-risk planet. We observe how he operates, whether his capabilities match his claims, and whether his actions align with his stated intentions. If he proves trustworthy, we can consider greater collaboration. If not, Hammond's expression hardened. We find a way to contain him and his ship permanently. And if he's everything he claims to be? Jack asked. If he really can help us against the Goa'uld. Then we've gained an extraordinary ally, Hammond said quietly. And we'll need to figure out what to do with a time-traveling alien who knows too much about our future and has technology that makes the Asgard look primitive. Jack nodded slowly. When do we test him? SG-1 has a scheduled mission to P3X-797 tomorrow. Agricultural planet, Bronze Age civilization, no Goa'uld presence detected. Take him with you. See how he handles first contact, whether he respects our protocols, and whether he's actually useful or just full of impressive technology and empty promises. Yes, sir. Jack turned to head back to the gate room, then paused. General, for what it's worth. My gut says he's telling the truth. But my gut also said the TARDIS were trustworthy, and that's been a mixed bag. Noted, Colonel. Trust your instincts, but verify everything. And Jack. Hammond's tone softened slightly. If he really is 900 years old and has been traveling the galaxy for centuries, he's seen things we can't imagine. That kind of experience could be invaluable. Or incredibly dangerous. Figure out which. Jack headed back to the gate room, where the doctor was now engaged in what appeared to be a deeply technical discussion with Carter about dimensional folding and temporal mechanics. Daniel was asking questions about Time Lord history. Even TLC had moved closer, listening intently. "Doctor," Jack called out. "How do you feel about field work?" The doctor looked up, surprise and interest crossing his face. "Field work? You want to help? Prove it. SG-1's got a mission tomorrow. You're coming with us. Low-tech planet, peaceful population, nothing dangerous. Consider it your audition." Jack's expression was stern. "You perform well, follow our protocols, demonstrate you can work with the team, and we'll talk about ongoing collaboration. You cause problems, and you're confined to this mountain until we figure out what to do with you." The doctor's face split into a genuine grin. "Colonel O'Neill, you're offering to take me through the Stargate to another planet for first contact with an alien civilization? That sounds absolutely brilliant. When do we leave?" 0800 hours. Gate room. "And doctor?" Jack's tone turned serious. "We do this our way. Our protocols, our rules, our mission parameters. You're an observer and consultant. You don't take charge, you don't make promises to the locals we can't keep, and you absolutely don't reveal anything about time travel or your ship's capabilities. Understood?" "Completely." The doctor's grin didn't fade. "Though I should mention, I'm really quite good at first contact situations. I've got a knack for languages and cultural diplomacy. You might find me rather useful." "We'll see," Jack said. "Carter, debrief him on mission protocols. Daniel, brief him on P3X-797's cultural context. TLC, show him where he'll be staying tonight. And someone get me those files on Bronze Age civilizations, because I have a feeling tomorrow's going to be interesting." As the team moved to carry out orders, the doctor stood in the middle of the TARDIS, looking around at his team for the mission with obvious delight. Jack caught the expression and felt a mixture of hope and deep concern. They were either about to gain an incredible asset in their war against the Goa'uld, or they were about to make a catastrophic mistake. Tomorrow would tell them which. In the meantime, a Time Lord stood in Cheyenne Mountain, ready to step through the Stargate and prove himself. And somewhere in the galaxy, the Goa'uld System Lords continued their eternal games of power, completely unaware that an ancient enemy of tyranny had just entered their territory. The gate room at 0745 hours had the familiar pre-mission energy, technicians running final checks, SG teams gearing up, the low hum of anticipation that came before stepping through to another world. Jack adjusted his P90, checking ammunition loads with practiced efficiency while Carter verified their equipment manifest. The doctor arrived wearing the same clothes from yesterday, though he'd apparently spent the night in VIP quarters under guard. He looked entirely too excited for someone about to walk through an unstable wormhole to an alien planet. "Good morning," the doctor announced cheerfully. "I've been reading the mission briefs you provided. P3X-797, designated planet in the Milky Way galaxy, human population descended from Goa'uld slaves relocated approximately 3,000 years ago. Bronze Age technology level, agricultural society, no apparent Goa'uld presence in recent centuries. Primary mission objective: establish friendly relations, assess potential for alliance or trade, gather intelligence on regional Goa'uld activity. Secondary objective: evaluate whether I can follow instructions and not cause an intergalactic incident." He grinned. That last part was subtext, but I read between the lines. "Smart," Jack said dryly. "You'll be carrying this." He handed over a Zatnik Tel. 1 shot stuns, 2 shots kill, 3 shots disintegrate. Try to stick with 1 shot if you need to use it at all. We prefer not to vaporize people if we can avoid it. The doctor held the weapon awkwardly, examining it with distaste. Goa'uld design. Elegant in its brutality. I'd really rather not carry a weapon at all, if it's all the same to you. I don't typically arm myself. Not an option, Jack replied firmly. You're going through the gate, you carry a weapon. Standard protocol. You don't have to use it, but you need to have it. The doctor sighed but clipped the Zat to his belt. Fine. Though I maintain my preference for talking over shooting. Noted, Jack said. Daniel, you're up. Daniel stepped forward, adjusting his glasses. The people of P3X-797 call themselves the Edoran. Their culture is loosely based on Minoan civilization. The Goa'uld who originally relocated them apparently had a fondness for Bronze Age Mediterranean aesthetics. They're peaceful, agrarian, with a council of elders governing through consensus. They know about the Stargate, they call it the Ring of the Ancestors. But haven't had contact with other worlds in living memory. We'll be the first visitors in generations. Which means first impressions matter, Carter added. We approach peacefully, hands visible, no aggressive posturing. We introduce ourselves as explorers from a distant world, seeking friendship and knowledge. Standard first contact protocol. I've done this sort of thing before, the doctor assured them. Though usually without quite so many weapons involved. Still, peaceful approach, respectful demeanor, genuine interest in their culture. I can manage that. TLC handed the doctor a radio headset. You will maintain communication at all times. If Colonel O'Neill gives an order, you will follow it immediately and without question. Understood. The doctor fitted the headset, adjusting it carefully. Though I should mention, I do have a tendency to wander off when something interesting catches my attention. Old habit. I'll try to restrain myself. Try really hard, Jack said. Because if you wander off and get captured by hostiles we didn't know about, I'm not explaining to Hammond how we lost the time-traveling alien on our first mission together. Hammond's voice came through the speakers. SG-1, you have a go. Doctor, this is your opportunity to demonstrate you can be an asset rather than a liability. I expect you to follow Colonel O'Neill's orders and represent Earth responsibly. I'll do my best, General, the doctor replied, looking up at the control room. And thank you for the opportunity. I know trust is earned, not given. I intend to earn it. The technician began dialing the gate. Each chevron locked with that distinctive mechanical clang that never got old. The doctor watched with undisguised fascination, pulling out his sonic screwdriver to scan the activation sequence. Remarkable, he murmured. The energy levels during dialing are precisely calibrated to establish a stable wormhole through subspace. The address system using constellations as spatial coordinates is brilliant in its simplicity. Whoever designed this network, the ancients, you called them, they were absolute geniuses. Yeah, they were great right up until they died of plague or ascended or whatever, Jack said. Less talking, more walking. Let's move. The seventh chevron locked. The event horizon exploded outward in its familiar kawoosh before settling into that impossible vertical pool of blue. The doctor stared at it with the expression of a child seeing fireworks for the first time. It's beautiful, he said softly. A stable Einstein-Rosen bridge, holding a connection across light-years of space. The energy requirements alone should be. Doctor. Walking. Now. Jack started up the ramp. They stepped through together, Jack first, followed by TLC, then Carter and Daniel, with the doctor bringing up the rear. Jack had been through the gate hundreds of times, but he still felt that moment of disorientation as reality bent around him, the sensation of being stretched and compressed simultaneously, before emerging into sunlight. Warm air. The smell of earth and growing things. P3X-797's gate stood in a clearing surrounded by cultivated fields. In the distance, a village of white stone buildings with blue-painted roofs nestled against rolling hills. The gate itself sat on a raised stone platform, clearly maintained despite apparent disuse. No DHD visible, it must have been buried or removed centuries ago. The doctor stumbled slightly as he emerged from the wormhole, catching himself on the edge of the gate platform. Oh, that's quite an experience. Molecular deconstruction and reconstruction in transit. I felt every atom being taken apart and put back together. Brilliant. Uncomfortable, but brilliant. You get used to it, Carter said, already scanning the area with her equipment. No energy signatures. No Naquata readings except from the gate itself. Looks clear. Fan out, standard formation, Jack ordered. Doctor, stay in the middle. Daniel, you're our translator if. Hello. A voice called out in accented but understandable English. Travelers from beyond the ring. We saw the light, the water that is not water. Please, do not be alarmed. A group of people emerged from the nearby fields, 6 of them, dressed in simple tunics and robes dyed in earth tones. They carried farming implements, not weapons. The man in front, elderly with a white beard and kind eyes, raised his hands in a gesture of peace. We mean no harm, Daniel called out, stepping forward carefully. We are travelers from a distant world, seeking friendship and knowledge. I am Daniel Jackson. These are my companions, Colonel Jack O'Neill, Major Samantha Carter, TLC, and the Doctor. The elderly man's eyes widened. The ring has opened. After so many generations of silence, the ancestors send visitors. He pressed his hand to his chest. I am Darius, Elder of Edora. Welcome, travelers. You honor us with your presence. The doctor couldn't contain himself. He stepped forward, hands spread in greeting, his entire manner shifting to something warm and welcoming. Darius, thank you for your hospitality. Your world is beautiful. We come in peace, seeking nothing but conversation and the chance to learn about your people. We have stories to share, if you're interested, and we'd love to hear yours. Jack caught the way Darius responded to the doctor's tone. The old man's posture relaxed immediately, his expression shifting from cautious welcome to genuine warmth. Whatever else the doctor might be, he was good at this. You speak with kindness, Darius observed. And you, warrior, he looked at TLC, you carry yourself with honor. Please, come. The village will want to meet you. It has been so long since we had visitors from beyond our world. As they walked toward the village, the doctor fell into step beside Darius, already deep in conversation. Your people maintain the ring platform beautifully. Do you remember stories of when it was last used? Stories, yes. My grandfather's grandfather spoke of visitors when he was young. Warriors who came seeking tribute to the gods. We had nothing to give, and they left in anger, but they did not return. Darius glanced at the doctor. You do not seem like those warriors. You have a different feeling about you. We're not here for tribute or conquest, the doctor assured him. We're explorers. Travelers. We want to understand the universe and the people in it. Your culture, your history, your achievements, they matter. Every civilization has wisdom to offer. Jack watched the interaction carefully. The doctor was doing exactly what they'd briefed, peaceful approach, genuine interest, no promises they couldn't keep. He was natural at it, like he'd done this 1,000 times before. Which, Jack reflected, he probably had. The village of Edora was larger than expected, maybe 2,000 people, based on the number of buildings. The architecture was indeed Minoan-inspired, with flat roofs, columns, and painted frescoes showing harvest scenes and stylized representations of the Stargate. Children ran alongside them, curious and unafraid. Adults emerged from homes and workshops, gathering to see the strangers. Darius led them to a central plaza with a fountain. Other elders appeared, 3 women and 2 men, all elderly, all watching the visitors with cautious interest. Honored elders, Darius announced, travelers have come through the ring. They speak of peace and friendship. One of the women stepped forward, her silver hair bound in intricate braids. I am Callista. The ring has been silent for 70 years. Why do the gods send visitors now? We're not from the gods, Daniel interjected gently. We're human, like you. From a planet called Earth. We use the Stargate, the ring, to explore and make friends with other worlds. The gods abandoned us long ago, another elder said, an old man leaning heavily on a carved staff. We pray to them, but they do not answer. We tend the ring as our ancestors commanded, but no one comes. Until today. The doctor's expression had grown serious, thoughtful. The beings you call gods. Did they look human but have glowing eyes? Did they speak with voices that echoed with power? The elders exchanged glances. Callista nodded slowly. The old stories speak of such beings. They claimed to be gods, wore gold and carried weapons that spat fire. They demanded worship and tribute. They weren't gods, the doctor said gently but firmly. They were Goa'uld, parasites that take human hosts and use advanced technology to appear divine. They enslaved countless worlds, including yours, long ago. But you're free now. They haven't returned because they don't control this region anymore. You've built a peaceful, thriving society without them. The plaza had gone quiet. The elders stared at the doctor, processing his words. Jack tensed slightly. This was going off script, revealing information about the Goa'uld without authorization. But the doctor's tone was compassionate, not condescending, and the people deserved to know the truth. Darius spoke slowly. You say the gods were false. That they were parasites, deceivers. Yes, TLC said, stepping forward. His voice carried weight, authority. I was once a servant of such false gods. I carried their young within me and led armies in their name. But I learned the truth, they are not divine. They are tyrants who use fear and technology to subjugate others. You are free because you have been forgotten by them. That is a gift, though it may not feel like one. We've been fighting them, Carter added. Earth was enslaved by the Goa'uld thousands of years ago, just like your world. But we broke free. We're using the Stargate to help other worlds, to share knowledge, to build alliances against the Goa'uld if they ever return. The elders spoke among themselves in hushed tones. The crowd had grown larger, hundreds of Adorans gathering to listen. Children peered out from behind adults. Jack could see the emotions playing across faces, shock, confusion, hope, fear. Finally, Callista spoke. If what you say is true, if the gods were false and we are free, then we must learn. We must know the truth of the universe beyond our world. You will stay. You will teach us. We can share what we know, Daniel said. And we'd like to learn from you as well. Your society, your culture, how you've maintained peace for so long, that's valuable knowledge. The doctor was scanning the crowd with something like satisfaction. He caught Jack's eye and nodded slightly. This was going well. First contact established, truth revealed carefully, relationship beginning to form. Then a child's scream cut through the plaza. Everyone turned. At the edge of the village, near the fields, a shimmer in the air resolved into 3 figures in ornate armor. Jaffa warriors, staff weapons raised. And behind them, stepping through a portable ring transport, was a Goa'uld, his eyes glowing with symbiote possession, his armor gleaming gold, his expression radiating arrogant power. No, Darius whispered. The gods have returned. The Goa'uld's voice boomed across the plaza, amplified and echoing. Kneel before your god. Kneel before Lord Khonsu. The plaza erupted in panic. Adorans scattered, running for cover. The elders stood frozen in shock. SG-1 moved immediately into defensive positions, weapons raised. And the doctor stepped forward, sonic screwdriver in hand, his expression gone cold and hard. "Sorry," he said quietly, his voice carrying steel Jack hadn't heard before. "But I'm afraid these people are done kneeling to false gods. Time for you to leave." Jack swore under his breath. Their simple first contact mission had just become infinitely more complicated. And their test of the doctor was about to become a trial by fire. The Goa'uld consul stood at the edge of the plaza, 3 Jaffa flanking him with staff weapons primed. His armor gleamed with the head of a falcon worked in gold, and his eyes blazed with symbiote possession. He surveyed the scattering Adorans with obvious satisfaction before his gaze fixed on SG-1. "Tauri," Khonsu said, his voice dripping with contempt. "I should have known. Like parasites, you infest worlds that do not belong to you." "That's rich, coming from an actual parasite," Jack retorted, P-90 aimed at the Goa'uld center mass. "This world doesn't belong to you either. These people are free." "Free?" Khonsu laughed, the sound echoing unnaturally. "They are property of the System Lords, abandoned but not forgotten. I have come to reclaim what is mine. This world will provide tribute to my armies, and its people will serve me as their ancestors served the gods." The doctor had moved to stand beside Jack, though his sonic screwdriver looked painfully inadequate compared to the staff weapons pointed their direction. "You're not a god. You're a Goa'uld, a parasitic species that hijacked human mythology to establish dominance through fear and technology. And I'm afraid I can't let you enslave these people." Khonsu's glowing eyes fixed on the doctor with interest. "And what are you, stranger? You are not Tauri. Your scent is different." He tilted his head. "You carry no symbiote, yet your biology is unusual. Perhaps you would make a suitable host." "Absolutely not happening," the doctor said firmly. 2 hearts, respiratory bypass system, and a very complicated brain chemistry that would give your symbiote a massive headache. "Trust me, I'm a terrible host candidate. Regeneration alone would probably kill the symbiote when it triggered." "We'll see," Khonsu said. He gestured, and the Jaffa raised their weapons. "Kneel, or die. The choice is simple." "How about option 3? Jack suggested. "You and your friends get out of here, forget this planet exists, and nobody has to get hurt. You dare threaten a god?" "Every chance I get," Jack replied. "TLC." "Indeed." TLC's staff weapon hummed to life, aimed at the nearest Jaffa. "These people are under our protection. You will not enslave them." The standoff held for a long moment. The plaza had mostly cleared, Adorans fleeing to their homes or hiding behind buildings. Only the elders remained, Various standing with Callista and the others, their faces pale but determined. The doctor stepped forward suddenly, moving past Jack's line of fire. "Wait. Everyone, just wait. There's no need for violence here." "Doctor, get back," Jack hissed. The doctor ignored him, addressing Khonsu directly. "You're a System Lord, or working for one. You've got territories to manage, rivals to fight, the TARDIS undermining your operations at every turn. This world has nothing you actually need, Bronze Age agriculture and a population that's forgotten how to worship. Taking them as slaves would cost you more in resources than you'd gain in tribute." Khonsu's expression shifted to something calculating. "You speak as one who understands the politics of the System Lords. Who are you?" "Someone who's been watching your empire for a very long time," the doctor replied. "Someone who knows that the Goa'uld are fighting a losing war. The Jaffa rebellion is spreading. The TARDIS are everywhere. The Tauri are beating you in every direct confrontation. And even without all that, you System Lords are too busy fighting each other to maintain your territories effectively. You don't want this world. You want the Tauri to know you were here, to establish dominance, to prove you're still powerful. But there are better ways to prove power than enslaving farmers. Jack wanted to shoot the doctor for going so far off script, but he also recognized tactical genius when he saw it. The doctor was buying time, gathering information, and probing for weaknesses all at once. Khonsu studied the doctor with obvious fascination. "You are well informed, stranger. But you are wrong about one thing. I do want this world. Not for its tribute, but for its location. This planet sits at a strategic nexus between three System Lord territories. Whoever controls it controls access to a dozen other worlds." His smile was cold. "I will take this world. I will fortify it. And when Baal or Apophis tries to claim it, I will destroy their forces and prove my supremacy." "So it's about territory," Carter said, understanding dawning. "You're trying to expand your holdings before another System Lord beats you to it." "The Tauri woman understands," Khonsu acknowledged. "Yes. This world is strategically valuable. Its people are incidental." "Then let's negotiate," the doctor said quickly. "You want strategic value. These people want to live in peace. Surely there's a solution that doesn't involve slavery and genocide." "I do not negotiate with humans," Khonsu declared. "I am a god. Gods do not bargain." "You're not a god," Daniel interjected, stepping forward despite Jack's warning glance. "You're a Goa'uld using a human host. The person you've taken over, the human consciousness trapped inside you, they're as much a victim as these people. You claim divinity, but you're just a parasite with stolen technology." Khonsu's expression darkened. "Jaffa, Kree. Take them alive. The Tauri will serve as examples. The strange one," he pointed at the doctor, "will be tested as a host." The Jaffa moved forward, staff weapons raised. Jack opened fire, P-90 round stitching across the nearest warrior's armor. The Jaffa stumbled but didn't fall, the armor absorbed most of the impact. TLC fired his staff weapon, the energy blast taking down one Jaffa with a direct hit to an unarmored joint. Carter zapped the third Jaffa, the electrical discharge stunning him instantly. But behind them, Khonsu raised a Goa'uld hand device, the Karakesh, and a wave of kinetic force threw SG-1 backward. Jack hit the ground hard, the wind knocked from his lungs. The doctor stood in the middle of the plaza, sonic screwdriver buzzing at high frequency. He was pointing it at Khonsu, and the Goa'uld was clutching his head, the glowing eyes flickering. "Harmonic resonance disruption," the doctor said, his voice tight with concentration. "Your symbiote is sensitive to specific frequencies. This won't kill you, but it's extremely uncomfortable, isn't it? Like having someone scrape fingernails directly on your nervous system." Khonsu snarled, raising the hand device again. The doctor was thrown backward, crashing into the plaza fountain. The sonic screwdriver skittered across the stone. Jack struggled to his feet, ears ringing. TLC was already up, staff weapon firing at the recovering Jaffa. Carter had her zat out, targeting Khonsu, but the Goa'uld's personal shield activated, the energy field absorbing the shot. "You dare attack a god?" Khonsu roared. "I will make you watch as I enslave your people, Tauri. I will make this world an example of what happens to those who defy the System Lords." The doctor climbed out of the fountain, soaking wet, his expression gone from diplomatic to genuinely angry. "Right. That's it. No more Mr. Nice Time Lord." He pulled something from his coat pocket, it looked like a small crystal on a chain. He held it up, and it began to glow with a soft golden light. "Do you know what this is, Khonsu?" "It's an ancient memory crystal. I found it on P2X 555 about 3 years ago, well, 3 years from your perspective. Time travel makes verb tenses complicated. It contains partial database information about ancient technology, including weapons systems." Khonsu's eyes narrowed. "You lie." "I don't." And more importantly, your Jaffa's personal biosignatures are now recorded in this crystal security protocol. Which means, the doctor's voice went cold, if I activate the defense subroutine, that ancient satellite defense platform in orbit around this planet will target them specifically. You didn't know about the satellite, did you? The ancients left defensive systems on worlds they considered important. This planet has one. It's been dormant for millennia, but I can wake it up. It was a complete bluff. Jack could see it in the way the doctor's hand trembled slightly, the way he stood too carefully, like he was balancing on a knife edge. But Khonsu didn't know that. The Goa'uld's expression shifted to uncertainty. "You're bluffing," Khonsu said, but doubt crept into his voice. "Am I?" The doctor's thumb moved over the crystal. "Want to test that theory?" "Because I've got 900 years of experience with ancient technology, and you've got maybe a few decades of cobbling together devices you barely understand." "Your hand device. Modified ancient healing technology. Your ring transport. Stolen ancient technology. Your entire empire is built on theft and imitation. I actually know how this works." Carter caught on immediately. "Sir, he's right about the satellite. I'm picking up faint energy readings in high orbit. It matches ancient weapon signatures. There was no satellite." Jack knew it. Carter knew it. But Khonsu didn't, and that made all the difference. The Goa'uld's hand tightened on his Karakesh. Behind him, the two remaining Jaffa looked uncertain. One was clutching his injured side where TLC's shot had grazed him. The other was glancing nervously at the sky. "This world is not worth losing warriors over an ancient defense platform," Khonsu said finally. "But this insult will not be forgotten, Tauri. And you," he pointed at the doctor, "you have made an enemy today. I will learn your name. I will learn your origin. And I will see you kneeling before me." "Get in line," the doctor replied. "Lots of people have made that promise. None of them have succeeded yet." Khonsu gestured sharply. The ring transport activated, beaming him and the Jaffa away in a flash of light. Moments later, the telltale energy signature of a Teltac in orbit appeared on Carter's scanner, followed by the ship jumping to hyperspace. The plaza fell silent. Then, slowly, Idorans began emerging from their hiding places. Darius approached cautiously, his face ashen. "The gods came," he whispered. "They came, and you drove them away." "Not gods," TLC corrected firmly. "False gods. And they fled because they were afraid." The doctor retrieved his sonic screwdriver from where it had fallen, shaking water from his coat. "Sorry about that. Diplomatic solution didn't work, had to improvise. Bluffing is usually my fallback option when things get violent." Jack grabbed the doctor by his wet coat. "You bluffed a system lord with ancient technology we don't have?" "Yes. And it worked, didn't it?" The doctor grinned, though his hands were shaking slightly from adrenaline. "There's no satellite." But he didn't know that, and the threat was enough to make him reconsider whether this world was worth the risk. Sometimes the best weapon is the one you don't have to use because your enemy thinks you have it. "That was insane," Carter breathed. "Brilliant, but insane." "I prefer creatively reckless," the doctor replied. He turned to Darius and the gathering Idorans. "I'm very sorry about that. We came in peace, we really did. But that Goa'uld, Khonsu, he's a system lord looking to expand territory. He would have enslaved your people, fortified your world, and turned it into a military outpost. We couldn't let that happen." Callista stepped forward, her expression complex, fear mixed with something like awe. "You drove away a god. You spoke to him as an equal and he fled." "He's not a god," Daniel said gently. "He's just a being with advanced technology pretending to be divine. You're free, and you can stay free. But..." He glanced at Jack. But the truth is, Khonsu knows about your world now. He might come back with more forces, or he might tell other system lords. Your isolation is over. The implications hung heavy in the air. The Adorans' peaceful existence, their generations of quiet agricultural life, had just ended. They were back on the Goa'uld's radar, whether they wanted to be or not. Darius straightened, decades of farming and quiet leadership giving way to something harder. Then we must prepare. We must learn. If the false gods can return, we need to defend ourselves. We can help with that, Jack said. We can teach you about the Goa'uld, share technology, help you establish defenses. But it's your choice. You can stay isolated, hope Khonsu forgets about you, or you can join the fight. We won't force you either way. The elders conferred in hushed voices. The crowd watched, waiting. Finally, Darius spoke. We choose knowledge. We choose alliance. If the false gods can return, then we must stand with those who resist them. We will learn. We will defend our world. And we will remember that we are not alone. The doctor smiled, genuine warmth breaking through the tension. That's possibly the bravest thing I've heard all week. And I've heard quite a lot of brave things. Sir, we should report back to the SGC, Carter said quietly to Jack. General Hammond needs to know we've had contact with Khonsu, and that the Goa'uld are actively looking to claim new territory in this sector. Jack nodded. Agreed. Darius, we need to return to our world to report this. We'll come back soon, bring supplies, start training your people. But for now, you should prepare, reinforce your homes, set up watch rotations, stay alert. If Khonsu sends scouts or probes, don't engage. Hide, observe, and wait for us to return. We understand, Darius said. We will be ready. As SG-1 moved toward the gate, the doctor lingered, speaking softly to several Adorans who'd gathered around him. Jack could hear fragments, advice about early warning systems, defensive positions, how to recognize Goa'uld technology. The doctor was already thinking tactically, already trying to help. Doctor. Jack called. Time to go. The doctor jogged to catch up, still dripping water from the fountain. Right, yes. Sorry. Just wanted to give them some basic tactical advice. They're going to need every advantage they can get if Khonsu comes back. They reached the gate. Carter dialed Earth, the familiar chevron sequence locking into place. The event horizon established, and they stepped through, Daniel first, then Carter, TLC, and finally Jack and the doctor. The molecular deconstruction/reconstruction was its usual disorienting experience. They emerged in the SGC gate room to find Hammond waiting at the base of the ramp, his expression serious. Colonel, report. Sir, first contact went well initially, Jack began. Then Khonsu showed up with Jaffa warriors, tried to claim the planet and enslave the population. We engaged, drove him off, but he knows about P3X-797 now. The Adorans want to join us, want training and defense. But we've essentially painted a target on that world. Hammond's expression darkened. Understood. Full debrief in 1 hour. Doctor, he looked at the soaking wet Time Lord, I trust you performed adequately. He bluffed a System Lord with non-existent ancient weapons, Jack said. Then gave the locals tactical advice. So yeah, adequate pretty much covers it. The doctor shrugged. It seemed like the appropriate response to the situation. Though I'm sorry about escalating things. Peaceful resolution would have been preferable. Peaceful resolution with the Goa'uld isn't usually an option, Hammond said. But you helped protect those people and drove off a System Lord without casualties. The debrief room was standard military issue, large table, harsh fluorescent lighting, and a tactical display screen showing P3X-797's gate address and orbital scans. Jack sat at the head of the table with Hammond, while SG-1 and the doctor occupied the other seats. The doctor had changed into dry clothes. Someone had found him a spare set of BDUs that fit reasonably well, though he looked deeply uncomfortable in military uniform. "So let me make sure I understand," Hammond said, reviewing the mission reports on his tablet. "You made first contact with the Adorans successfully. They were peaceful, cooperative, and interested in alliance. Then Khonsu arrived with hostile intent, you engaged in combat, and the doctor bluffed him into withdrawing by claiming we had ancient weapons we don't actually possess." "That's the summary, sir," Jack confirmed. "Though I'd add that the doctor's bluff probably saved lives. If we'd escalated to full combat in the middle of their village, civilian casualties would have been significant. The tactical deception was sound," TLC added. Khonsu believed the threat credible because the doctor demonstrated knowledge of ancient technology that a Goa'uld would find convincing. His uncertainty caused him to withdraw rather than risk his warriors against an unknown weapons system. Carter pulled up sensor data on the display screen. "Sir, I've analyzed the engagement." Khonsu arrived via ring transport from a Teltac in orbit. The ship was a standard cargo vessel, modified with additional weapons. He had only 3 Jaffa with him, probably a scouting force rather than an invasion fleet. The doctor was right that Khonsu was testing the planet's defenses and strategic value. "Which means he'll be back," Daniel said grimly. "Maybe not Khonsu specifically, but now that the Goa'uld No P3X-797 is inhabited and strategically located, other system lords will take interest. We've essentially exposed them to danger by making contact." The doctor had been quiet, listening intently. Now he spoke up. "That was going to happen eventually. Khonsu was already investigating the planet, that's why he showed up so quickly after we arrived. The gate activation caught his attention. If we hadn't been there, he would have subjugated the Adorans without resistance. At least now they know the truth about the Goa'uld and can prepare." "Prepare for what, exactly?" Hammond asked. "They're a Bronze Age civilization with farming implements and no military infrastructure. Even with training and equipment from us, they can't stand against a Goa'uld assault." "Not alone, no," the doctor agreed. "But with support from Earth, with early warning systems, with knowledge of Goa'uld tactics, they have a chance. And more importantly, they have a choice. They can choose to fight for their freedom rather than having slavery imposed on them without understanding what's happening." Hammond studied the doctor carefully. "You're advocating for significant resource investment in a world we just discovered." "Why?" "Because every world matters," the doctor said simply. "Every civilization, every culture, every person who wants to be free, they all matter. The Goa'uld have enslaved thousands of worlds. If you only help the ones that can defend themselves, you're abandoning the vast majority who need help most. The Adorans are peaceful farmers, yes. But they're also brave enough to choose alliance over ignorance. That deserves support." Jack could see Hammond weighing the argument. The SGC had limited resources, dozens of active missions, and ongoing conflicts across multiple worlds. But the doctor had a point. Protecting only the strategically valuable planets was exactly what the Goa'uld did. "Major Carter, what would the Adorans need for basic defense?" Hammond asked. Carter considered. "Early warning sensors to detect incoming ships or gate activations. Basic weapons training, P90S and ZATs. Fortified positions near the gate and village. Communication equipment so they can call for help. And ideally, a small garrison of trained personnel, either SG teams on rotation or trained Adorans. We're looking at significant time and material investment, sir. But not impossible," Daniel added. "We've done similar things with the Talk-RA, with Bratak's Jaffa rebels, with the Talon before they were destroyed. We know how to build alliances and provide support." Hammond was silent for a long moment, then nodded. "Very well. Colonel O'Neill, SG-1 will return to P-3X-797 within 48 hours with defensive equipment and training personnel. We'll establish a basic defensive perimeter and early warning system. Major Carter, coordinate with engineering on sensor packages. Dr. Jackson, prepare cultural briefings for our personnel. We'll need to work with the Adorans respectfully. TLC, you'll oversee weapons training. Yes, sir, they responded in unison. Dr. Hammond turned to him. Your performance on P-3X-797 was unconventional but effective. You demonstrated tactical thinking, cultural sensitivity, and genuine concern for civilian safety. You also revealed knowledge of Goa'uld operations and ancient technology that could be valuable to our operations. I'm prepared to offer you a provisional consultant position with the Stargate program, pending approval from higher authorities. The doctor's expression brightened. Really? You're offering me a job? A provisional position, Hammond clarified. You'll accompany SG-1 on missions where your expertise could be useful. You'll have access to our facilities and intelligence, within limits. You'll submit to security protocols and follow Colonel O'Neill's orders in the field. And in exchange, you'll share your knowledge of the Goa'uld, ancient technology, and anything else relevant to our mission of defending Earth and our allies. What about the TARDIS? The doctor asked. I can't exactly leave her sitting in your gate room indefinitely. We'll designate a secure hangar for your vessel, Hammond said. It'll be monitored, but you'll have access. However, I need your word that you won't use it to leave without authorization, at least until we've established a working relationship and verified your intentions fully. The doctor considered this carefully. Jack could see him weighing freedom against opportunity, independence against alliance. Finally, he nodded. You have my word. I'll stay, I'll work with you, and I won't leave without proper authorization unless there's an emergency that requires immediate temporal intervention. Which is unlikely but not impossible. Time gets complicated sometimes. But yes, General Hammond, I accept your offer. I'd be honored to help. Hammond extended his hand. The doctor shook it firmly. Welcome to the Stargate program, Doctor, Hammond said. Try not to make a habit of bluffing system lords with weapons we don't have. My heart can only take so much. No promises, the doctor replied with a grin. But I'll do my best to be predictable. Within reason. Later that evening, Jack found the doctor in the hangar where they'd moved the TARDIS. The blue box sat in the middle of the space, surrounded by sensor equipment that Carter had set up to study it. The doctor was inside, making adjustments to the console while humming in tune Jack didn't recognize. Knock knock, Jack called from the doorway. The doctor looked up. Colonel O'Neill. Come in, please. Mind the dimensional threshold, some people get dizzy the first time they cross it. Jack stepped inside, still marveling at the impossible interior. I've been through the Stargate hundreds of times, died and been brought back by alien technology, and had my mind downloaded into a robot. But this still breaks my brain. Dimensional transcendence does that, the doctor said sympathetically. Your brain expects space to work a certain way, and when it doesn't, cognitive dissonance occurs. You'll adjust. Jack leaned against the railing, watching the doctor work. So. 900 years old, time machine, saved Earth multiple times in different timelines. That's a hell of a resume. I've been around, the doctor acknowledged. Seen a lot. Done more. Made mistakes, saved worlds, lost people I cared about. The usual for someone who lives too long and sees too much. Why help us? Jack asked directly. You could go anywhere, anywhen. Why get involved in our war with the Goa'uld? The doctor paused his work, his expression growing distant. Because I know what it's like to lose your world. To be the last of your kind. Gallifrey is gone, destroyed in a war so terrible that we had to make impossible choices to end it. The Time Lords are dead, and I'm what's left. A traveler without a home, wandering through time and space, trying to make a difference where I can. He looked at Jack directly. Earth reminds me of Gallifrey in some ways. Not the technology or the culture, but the spirit. The determination to be free, to explore, to push beyond limitations. When I learned that humans had reactivated their Stargate and were fighting back against the Goa'uld, I was impressed. You're so young as a species. You should be primitive and afraid. Instead, you're stepping through that gate every day, exploring the galaxy, standing up to an empire that's existed for millennia. That's extraordinary. We're also dying regularly and barely holding our own, Jack pointed out. Yes. But you're still fighting. Still exploring. Still choosing hope over despair. The doctor smiled sadly. I lost that for a while, after Gallifrey. I was angry and alone and didn't see the point in continuing. But then I'd find a world like Earth, or people like you, and I'd remember why the universe is worth saving. Why life is worth protecting. You give me hope, Colonel. All of you do. Jack was quiet for a moment, processing. He'd never been good with emotional conversations, but something about the doctor's raw honesty demanded acknowledgement. For what it's worth, we're glad you crashed into our gate room. You could be a real asset. Assuming you don't get us all killed with your bluffing and improvisation. I'll try to keep the risk level moderate, the doctor promised. Though I should warn you, traveling with me tends to attract trouble. Trouble and I have a long-standing relationship. We're practically old friends at this point. We've got plenty of trouble already, Jack said. What's a little more? He pushed off the railing. Get some rest, Doctor. We head back to P3X 797 in 2 days, and you'll need to be sharp. The Adorans will have questions, and we'll need your diplomatic skills to help them adjust to their new reality. I'll be ready, the doctor assured him. Jack headed for the door, then paused. Hey, Doctor. That thing you said about ancient technology and the satellite defense platform. How much of your knowledge about the ancients is real, and how much was creative fiction? The doctor's expression turned enigmatic. I've traveled this galaxy for a very long time, Colonel. I've visited ancient outposts, studied their technology, learned their history. Not everything I said to Khonsu was a lie. Some planets do have ancient defense systems, dormant and waiting for the right activation codes. P3X 797 doesn't have one, but Khonsu didn't know that. The best bluffs are built on kernels of truth. So you actually know how to activate ancient technology? Some of it, yes. The ancients and Time Lords had parallel approaches to certain problems. Dimensional engineering, temporal mechanics, energy manipulation. I recognize their work because it's conceptually similar to ours. Different execution, same underlying principles. The doctor's expression grew serious. All of you do. Jack was quiet for a moment, processing. He'd never been good with emotional conversations, but something about the doctor's raw honesty demanded acknowledgement. For what it's worth, we're glad you crashed into our gate room. You could be a real asset. Assuming you don't get us all killed with your bluffing and improvisation. I'll try to keep the risk level moderate, the doctor promised. Though I should warn you, traveling with me tends to attract trouble. Trouble and I have a long-standing relationship. We're practically old friends at this point. We've got plenty of trouble already, Jack said. What's a little more? He pushed off the railing. Get some rest, Doctor. We head back to P3X 797 in 2 days, and you'll need to be sharp. The Adorans will have questions, and we'll need your diplomatic skills to help them adjust to their new reality. I'll be ready, the doctor assured him. Jack headed for the door, then paused. Hey, Doctor. That thing you said about ancient technology and the satellite defense platform. How much of your knowledge about the ancients is real, and how much was creative fiction? The doctor's expression turned enigmatic. I've traveled this galaxy for a very long time, Colonel. I've visited ancient outposts, studied their technology, learned their history. Not everything I said to Khonsu was a lie. Some planets do have ancient defense systems, dormant and waiting for the right activation codes. P3X-797 doesn't have one, but Khonsu didn't know that. The best bluffs are built on kernels of truth. So you actually know how to activate ancient technology? Some of it, yes. The ancients and Time Lords had parallel approaches to certain problems. Dimensional engineering, temporal mechanics, energy manipulation. I recognize their work because it's conceptually similar to ours. Different execution, same underlying principles. The doctor's expression grew serious. Which means I might be able to help you with ancient devices you've recovered but don't understand. If you're interested. Jack considered the implications. The SGC had several ancient artifacts in storage that they'd been unable to activate or understand. If the doctor could help crack those mysteries. We'll talk to Hammond. Might be a good project for you while we're establishing defenses on P3X-797. I'd be delighted, the doctor said. Ancient technology is fascinating. Dangerous, often, but fascinating. Jack left the hangar, his mind racing. The doctor was an asset, that much was clear. But he was also a wild card, someone with capabilities they didn't fully understand and motivations that were complex at best. Hammond was right to be cautious, to establish protocols and boundaries. But Jack's gut said the doctor was genuine. His grief about Gallifrey was real. His determination to help was authentic. And his knowledge could be invaluable in their fight against the Goa'uld. In his office, Jack found a message waiting from the Pentagon. Approval for the doctor's provisional consultant status had come through faster than expected. Someone high up the chain of command was very interested in a time-traveling alien with ancient technology expertise. That was either very good news or the beginning of a political nightmare. Jack filed the message and headed home. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Briefing the doctor on ancient artifacts, preparing for the return to P3X-797, figuring out how to defend a Bronze Age civilization against the Goa'uld Empire. But tonight, he allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. SG-1 had made first contact, established a new alliance, driven off a System Lord, and recruited a 900-year-old alien who owned a time machine. Just another day at the office for the Stargate program. In the TARDIS, the doctor finished his recalibrations and stood quietly at the console, one hand resting on the time rotor. The ship hummed softly, a comforting presence after years of traveling together. "Well, old girl," he murmured. "Looks like we've found ourselves a new mission. A new war to fight, new people to protect. What do you think? Can we make a difference here?" The TARDIS hummed in response, a sound that might have been agreement, or might have been warning. With her, it was always hard to tell. The doctor smiled anyway. For the first time in a long while, he felt purpose beyond just wandering. The Stargate program was fighting a war against tyranny, exploring the unknown, protecting the innocent. It was everything he'd ever tried to do, embodied in a single military operation. He could help them. He could use his knowledge, his experience, his TARDIS to make a real difference in this galaxy. And maybe, in helping them, he could find some redemption for all the people he hadn't been able to save. "Allons why," he whispered to the empty TARDIS. Then he corrected himself. "No, wait. Wrong regeneration. That's later. Or earlier. Time travel makes personal chronology so confusing." He headed for the quarters Hammond had assigned him, ready to begin his new role as consultant to Earth's Stargate program. Behind him, the TARDIS lights pulsed softly, keeping watch over her doctor as she always had. Somewhere in the galaxy, Khonsu was reporting his encounter to other System Lords. Word was spreading about a strange being who knew ancient secrets and wasn't afraid of gods. The Goa'uld Empire was taking notice. And on Earth, a Time Lord prepared to teach humans how to fight back against impossible odds. The war was about to change in ways no one could predict. The adventure was just beginning. 3 weeks had passed since the Doctor joined the Stargate program. In that time, SG-1 had returned to P3X-797 twice, establishing defensive perimeters and training Edo-Ran volunteers in basic combat tactics. The Doctor had proven invaluable, his diplomatic skills helped smooth cultural tensions, and his technical knowledge allowed them to set up sensor networks that would detect incoming ships or unauthorized gate activations. But it was his work with ancient artifacts that had truly caught the attention of Stargate Command. Jack stood in Lab 3C, watching through reinforced glass as the Doctor and Carter worked on a device they'd recovered from P4X-639 2 years ago. It looked like a crystalline sphere roughly the size of a basketball, with intricate geometric patterns etched into its surface. Previous attempts to activate it had resulted in everything from harmless light shows to one memorable incident where it had nearly opened a wormhole inside the lab. The key is understanding that ancient technology isn't purely mechanical, the Doctor was explaining, his sonic screwdriver scanning the sphere while Carter took readings. It's biointegrated. Most of their devices require the ATA gene, the ancient technology activation gene, to interface properly. But this one is different. It's designed to respond to specific brainwave patterns, regardless of genetic markers. A telepathic interface? Carter asked, fascinated. Psychic resonance, technically. Your thoughts create quantum fluctuations at the subatomic level. Ancient technology can detect and interpret those fluctuations if you know how to focus them properly. The Doctor adjusted his sonic. Try thinking about opening a door. Simple, clear intention. Don't force it, just hold the thought. Carter placed her hands on the sphere, concentrating. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the crystal began to glow softly, the geometric patterns lighting up in sequence. A holographic display materialized above the sphere, star charts, equations, and text in ancient script. I did it, Carter breathed. It's responding. You're a natural, the Doctor said with genuine delight. Now, let's see what secrets it's been holding. This appears to be a database of some kind. Look, those are gate addresses. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. This could be an ancient navigation archive. Jack's radio crackled. Colonel O'Neill, report to the gate room immediately. We have an unscheduled off-world activation. Jack swore under his breath and keyed his radio. On my way. Carter, Doctor, with me. They rushed to the gate room, arriving as the 7th chevron locked. The iris was closed, but the wormhole established with its familiar whoosh. A moment later, a radio signal came through, an IDC code. It's SG-3, sir, the gate technician reported. Colonel Reynolds' team. Open the iris, Hammond ordered from the control room. The titanium barrier retracted. 4 figures stumbled through the event horizon, SG-3, covered in dust and minor injuries. Colonel Reynolds was clutching his arm, blood seeping through his BDUs. Behind them, the wormhole shut down. Medical teams rushed forward. Jack helped Reynolds toward the infirmary while the other team members were checked for injuries. What happened? Jack asked. Ambush, Reynolds gasped. P7J-989. We were surveying ancient ruins when Jaffa appeared. Dozens of them, full assault force. They were waiting for us, Jack. Like they knew we were coming. What Goa'uld? Hammond demanded, joining them. Baal, Reynolds replied, wincing as Dr. Fraser examined his arm. His first prime was commanding. They wanted the ancient device we'd found at the ruins. We managed to escape through the gate, but barely. They nearly overran us. The Doctor had followed them to the infirmary, his expression grave. Baal. That's concerning. He's one of the more intelligent system lords. Cunning, ruthless, and unlike many Goa'uld, he actually understands the technology he uses rather than just operating it through genetic memory. If he's targeting ancient ruins specifically, he's looking for weapons, TLC stated, arriving with Daniel. Or technology that could give him advantage over rival system lords. Did you get the device? Hammond asked Reynolds. Reynolds nodded toward one of his team members, who was holding a carefully wrapped package. Captain Griff has it. We didn't have time to study it, just grabbed it and ran when the Jaffa attacked. Get it to a secure lab, Hammond ordered. Full analysis team. And Colonel Reynolds, good work getting your team out alive. Dr. Fraser, see to his injuries. As Fraser began treating Reynolds' arm, a staff weapon burn, not serious but painful, the doctor examined the wrapped device over Captain Griff's shoulder. His expression shifted to alarm. That's a control key, he said urgently. For an ancient weapons platform. Specifically, it's designed to interface with orbital defense satellites. The kind that can target ships in space or coordinates on planetary surfaces. If Baal gets his hands on this, he could activate ancient weapons across the galaxy, Carter finished, her face pale. Doctor, how do you know what it is? Because I've seen them before. The ancients built defensive networks around key strategic worlds before they ascended. Most are dormant, waiting for proper authorization codes. This key, he gestured at the device, could reactivate entire defense grids. In the wrong hands, it's catastrophically dangerous. Hammond's expression hardened. Then we need to make sure Baal doesn't get it. Carter, Doctor, take the device to Lab 3C. Full security detail. I want to know exactly what it does and how to prevent it from being used against us. Sir, Daniel interjected, if Baal was waiting at those ruins specifically, how did he know SG-3 would be there? We don't share our mission schedules with anyone outside the SGC. The implication hung heavy in the air. Hammond's face grew grim. You're suggesting we have a security leak. Or Baal has access to intelligence about our operations, TLC said. The System Lords have spies among the Jaffa and Takare. It is possible he has learned of our exploration patterns. Either way, we have a problem, Jack said. Baal's actively hunting ancient technology, he's setting ambushes for our teams, and he knew exactly where to look. That's not random. That's targeted intelligence gathering. The doctor was still staring at the control key, his expression troubled. There's something else. If Baal has the location of one ancient weapons platform, he might have locations for others. The ancients built these systems in networks, interconnected grids that could cover entire sectors of space. If he activates one platform and learns how to interface with the ancient defense network, he could have weapons coverage across dozens of star systems, Carter concluded. Effectively creating an impregnable defensive perimeter for his territories while being able to strike at rival system lords or Earth with ancient weapons. That would shift the balance of power among the system lords considerably, Hammond said. And put Earth directly in his crosshairs. He looked at the doctor. Can you disable the control key? Make it useless? I can try, but there's a risk. Ancient technology has security protocols. If I disable it incorrectly, it might send a signal to the associated weapons platforms, alerting them that someone's tampered with the key. That could activate defensive subroutines or, worse, trigger automated responses. The doctor met Hammond's gaze. The safer option is to learn how to use it ourselves. If we can activate the ancient defense network first, we could lock Baal out entirely. Assuming we can figure out how to control ancient weapons without accidentally destroying something, Jack pointed out. We have a pretty terrible track record with ancient technology. Remember when Daniel accidentally activated that time loop device? That was one time, Daniel protested. Well, technically thousands of times, but from our perspective. The point stands, Jack interrupted. Ancient tech is dangerous. The doctor nodded slowly. You're right to be cautious. But consider the alternative. If we don't act, Baal will continue hunting these control keys. Eventually he'll succeed in activating a platform, and then we're facing an enemy with ancient weapons we can't match. Hammond considered this for a long moment. Dr. Major Carter, you have 48 hours to analyze that control key and determine our options. Colonel O'Neill, I want security protocols reviewed immediately. If we have a leak, I want it found. TLC, reach out to Bratak and your Jaffa contacts. Find out what Baal is planning. Daniel, research every ancient outpost we know about. If there are more of these weapons platforms out there, I want to know where they are before Baal finds them. Yes, sir, they responded. As the team dispersed to their assignments, the doctor caught Jack's arm. Colonel, there's something you should know. Baal is different from other system lords. Most Goa'uld are megalomaniacal tyrants who rely on intimidation and inherited technology. But Baal is genuinely intelligent. He experiments, innovates, learns from failures. If he's systematically hunting ancient technology, he has a plan. And plans from someone like Baal are extremely dangerous. How dangerous are we talking? Jack asked. The doctor's expression was grave. The kind of dangerous that could end this war decisively, in his favor. We need to stay ahead of him, Colonel. Because if Baal activates those ancient weapons platforms before we do, the Goa'uld won't just maintain their empire. They'll expand it to include Earth, and there won't be anything we can do to stop them. In Lab 3C, the doctor and Carter worked through the night analyzing the control key. It was a complex piece of ancient engineering, crystalline matrices interwoven with Naquadah circuits, all designed to interface with both the ATA gene and quantum-level computational systems. It's beautiful, Carter murmured, studying the internal structure on a microscopic scanner. The ancients integrated biological and technological interfaces seamlessly. Our best computer systems look primitive compared to this. They had millions of years to perfect their technology, the doctor said, using his sonic screwdriver to map the device's quantum pathways. And they understood that consciousness and technology could work together rather than separately. This key doesn't just access the weapons platform. It bonds with the user, creating a mental link that allows intuitive control rather than requiring complex programming. Which means whoever activates it has direct control over ancient weapons, Carter realized. That's incredibly powerful and incredibly dangerous. If someone with malicious intent could target planets, ships, entire fleets with ancient satellite weapons, the doctor finished. Yes. That's exactly the problem. The ancients built safeguards, of course. The key requires someone with the ATA gene, or at least someone whose biology is compatible with ancient technology. But Goa'uld have been known to engineer humans with the gene specifically to access ancient devices. Carter looked up from her scanner. Could you use it? Your biology isn't human, but you said Time Lord and ancient technology have similar principles. The doctor considered this carefully. Possibly. My physiology might be compatible enough to establish a connection. But there's a risk. If I activate it and the weapons platform identifies me as a threat rather than authorized personnel, it could target me. Or worse, it could interpret my Time Lord biology as hostile alien presence and activate planetary defense protocols against Earth. That's a risk we can't take, Carter said firmly. We need someone with the ATA gene. Colonel O'Neill has it. He's used ancient technology before, including that repository device that downloaded ancient knowledge into his brain. That nearly killed him, the doctor pointed out. Twice, if I remember correctly from the mission reports. And this control key creates a direct neural link. If the weapons platform interprets his intentions wrong, or if he loses control of the connection. They fell silent, both understanding the stakes. Finally, Carter spoke. We need more information. Where is this weapons platform located? What's its range and capabilities? Are there really networks of them, or is this an isolated system? The doctor ran his sonic over the control key again, this time focusing on residual energy signatures. There's a log here, previous activations, location data, system diagnostics. It's encrypted, but I think I can. He adjusted the sonic's frequency. Yes, here we go. The control key was last activated approximately 3,000 years ago. The associated weapons platform is designated Sentinel-7, located in orbit around. He paused, his expression shifting to alarm. Oh no. What? Where is it? P3X-797, the doctor said quietly. The weapons platform I bluffed about to Khonsu, it actually exists. I wasn't lying, I just didn't know I was telling the truth. Carter stared at him. You mean when you threatened Khonsu with an ancient satellite defense platform, there really was one there? Apparently, yes. The control key confirms it. Sentinel-7 is in high orbit around the Edoran homeworld, dormant but functional. It's been waiting for proper authorization for 3 millennia. The doctor looked at Carter. Which means if we activate this key, we can actually defend P3X-797 from Goa'uld attack. The Adorans would be genuinely protected by ancient technology. But if Baal finds out the platform exists and gets another control key, Carter understood immediately. He could activate it himself and use it against the Adorans, or against us when we're there defending them. The doctor set down his sonic. We need to make a choice. Activate the platform ourselves and secure P3X-797, or destroy the control key and hope Baal never finds another way to access Sentinel-7. If we destroy it, we lose the ability to defend the Adorans with ancient weapons, Carter said. They'll be vulnerable. If we activate it without understanding the full system, we could accidentally trigger something catastrophic, the doctor countered. Ancient weapons are designed to eliminate threats. If the platform misidentifies the Adorans as threats, or if it targets gate travel as hostile activity, then we'd be responsible for wiping out the people we're trying to protect, Carter finished. They looked at each other, the weight of the decision evident in both their expressions. We should present both options to General Hammond, Carter said finally. Let him make the call. Agreed, the doctor said. But we need more data first. I want to know exactly what Sentinel-7 is capable of before we activate it, or destroy the only key to defending an entire planet. The briefing room was tense. Hammond sat at the head of the table, his expression carved from stone as he reviewed the analysis Carter and the doctor had prepared. Jack stood by the tactical display showing P3X-797's orbital space, where sensor data indicated a massive ancient satellite in geosynchronous orbit, exactly where the doctor had bluffed it would be. Let me make sure I understand, Hammond said slowly. The control key we recovered allows us to activate an ancient weapons platform that's been dormant for 3,000 years. This platform, Sentinel-7, has enough firepower to destroy Hatak-class motherships in a single shot and can target multiple vessels simultaneously. It could single-handedly defend P3X-797 against any Goa'uld assault. That's correct, sir, Carter confirmed. The doctor and I have analyzed the control key specifications. Sentinel-7 is equipped with energy weapons comparable to what the Ancients used during their war with the Wraith in the Pegasus Galaxy. It's an incredibly powerful asset. But, the doctor interjected, there are significant risks. Ancient weapons platforms have automated defense protocols. If Sentinel-7 misidentifies the Adorans as threats, or if it interprets gate travel as hostile activity, it could fire on them. We'd be activating a weapon we don't fully control to protect people who could become its victims. What about Baal? Daniel asked. If he knows about this control key, won't he come looking for it? He already is, TLC said grimly. I have received word from Bratak. Baal's forces have been mobilizing, 3 Hatak motherships and support vessels. Jaffa warriors report he is searching for something of great importance. My master believes Baal seeks ancient technology to gain advantage over rival system lords. Jack leaned forward. So we've got maybe days, maybe hours, before Baal figures out where Sentinel-7 is located. If he gets there first. He activates the platform using Goa'uld engineered humans with the ATA gene, the doctor finished. He's done it before with other ancient devices. Once he has control of Sentinel-7, he can use it to establish a defensive perimeter around his territories and strike at rival system lords, or Earth, with impunity. Hammond's jaw tightened. Major Carter, what's your recommendation? Sir, I believe we should activate Sentinel-7 ourselves. The risk of ancient defensive protocols targeting the Adorans exists, but we can mitigate it by having someone with the ATA gene establish proper authorization protocols before full activation. If we do this right, we secure a major defensive asset and protect an allied world. Colonel O'Neill, you have the ATA gene naturally, Hammond said. Can you interface with the control key? Jack shifted uncomfortably. Sir, the last time I interfaced with ancient technology, the repository. It nearly killed me. Twice. I'm not eager to plug ancient tech directly into my brain again. I understand your hesitation, Colonel. But you may be our only option. Hammond looked at the doctor. Unless you believe you could establish the interface. The doctor shook his head. My Time Lord physiology might be compatible, but there's too much risk. Ancient technology is designed for humans with specific genetic markers. If I attempt activation and the platform rejects me as unauthorized alien presence, it could interpret my biology as a threat and target Earth itself. I can't take that chance. Then it falls to Colonel O'Neill, Hammond said. He looked at Jack directly. Colonel, I know what I'm asking. But if Baal gets control of Sentinel-7, the consequences could be catastrophic. We need to secure this platform. Jack was quiet for a long moment, old fears warring with duty. Finally, he nodded. When do we leave? Immediately, Hammond said. SG-1, SG-3, and SG-5 will gate to P3X-797. You'll bring the control key, establish a defensive perimeter around the gate, and Colonel O'Neill will attempt to activate Sentinel-7. Doctor, you'll accompany them as technical advisor. If anything goes wrong with the activation, you'll need to shut it down before it causes catastrophic damage. Understood, the doctor said. I'll prepare the TARDIS as backup. If the situation becomes untenable, I can evacuate the Adorans through time and space. It's not ideal, but it's better than leaving them to face ancient weapons fire. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, Hammond said. You have 1 hour to prepare. Dismissed. As the team filed out, the doctor caught Jack's arm. Colonel, if you need to abort the activation at any point, don't hesitate. Your life is more valuable than any weapons platform. We'll find another way to defend P3X-797. Jack managed a grim smile. Thanks, document. But if I don't do this, someone else dies. Either the Adorans when Baal attacks, or our people when he uses ancient weapons against Earth. At least this way, I'm making the choice. The gate room was organized chaos. 3 SG teams geared up with heavy weapons and equipment. The doctor stood beside the TARDIS, giving her a final check while Carter loaded the control key into a secured case. TLC supervised ammunition distribution, his expression stoic but concerned. Daniel adjusted his glasses nervously, clutching research materials on ancient activation protocols. SG teams, you have a go, Hammond announced from the control room. Godspeed. The gate activated, chevrons locking in sequence. The event horizon established, and they moved through in tactical formation, SG-5 first, establishing a defensive perimeter, then SG-3 and SG-1, with the doctor bringing up the rear. They emerged on P3X-797 to find Darius and the Edoran Council waiting by the gate, along with several dozen Edoran volunteers they trained over the past 3 weeks. The volunteers carried P90s with reasonable competence, though their farming backgrounds showed in their stances. Colonel O'Neill, Darius greeted them. "Your message said there was urgency. What threatens us?" "Baal," Jack replied grimly. "Major Goa'uld System Lord, probably one of the most dangerous. He's looking for ancient technology, and we've discovered there's a weapons platform in orbit around your planet. We're here to activate it before he arrives and claims it for himself." The Edoran elders exchanged alarmed glances. Callista spoke up. "The ancestors' weapon? The old stories speak of a light in the sky that could strike down false gods. We thought it legend. It's real," the doctor confirmed. "And it could protect your world from Goa'uld invasion permanently. But we need to activate it properly, which requires," he looked at Jack, "someone brave enough to interface with ancient technology." Jack pulled out the control key from Carter's secured case. It hummed softly at his touch, the crystals beginning to glow. "Let's get this over with. Where do I need to be?" "According to the data, there's an activation site," Carter said, checking her tablet. "Ancient ruins approximately 2 kilometers northwest of here. The control key needs to be inserted into a command interface at that location to establish the neural link with Sentinel-7. Then we move fast," Jack ordered. SG-3, SG-5, establish defensive perimeter around this gate. No one unauthorized gets through. SG-1, Dr. Darius, with me. We're activating this platform before Baal's forces arrive." They moved quickly through the Edoran countryside, following Carter's scanner readings toward the ancient ruins. The site was partially buried, overgrown with vegetation, but the distinctive architecture was unmistakable: graceful columns, crystalline inlays, the aesthetic of a civilization that had mastered art and science equally. At the center of the ruin stood a pedestal with a circular indentation, the command interface. Ancient script covered the surrounding stonework. Daniel immediately began photographing and translating, his excitement barely contained despite the danger. "This is incredible," Daniel breathed. The inscriptions describe Sentinel-7 as a guardian, placed here to protect this world after the ancients seeded it with human life. They considered P3X-797 important for some reason. Possibly its strategic location, or maybe the Adoran's ancestors had significance we don't understand. "We can study the history later," Jack said. "Right now, I need to know, do I just plug this thing in and hope for the best?" The doctor examined the command interface with his sonic screwdriver. "It's designed for intuitive activation. Place the control key in the interface, and it will establish a neural link through the ATA gene. You'll feel the connection. Probably quite overwhelming initially. Your thoughts will be transmitted to Sentinel-7, and you'll receive sensory data back. Think of it as becoming the weapons platform temporarily." "That doesn't sound ominous at all," Jack muttered. He looked at his team. "If this goes wrong, if I can't control it or if the platform goes haywire, Carter, you shut it down. Use explosives if you have to." "Sir," Carter began. "That's an order, Major." Jack positioned the control key over the interface. "Here goes nothing." He inserted the key into the pedestal. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the crystals exploded with light, ancient script blazing across every surface. Jack gasped, his eyes glowing briefly with the same golden light. The neural link established with a rush that sent him to his knees. "Jack!" Daniel moved to help, but the doctor held him back. "Don't break the connection. He's interfacing with Sentinel-7. His consciousness is expanding to include the weapons platform systems. This is the critical moment." Jack's perspective shattered and expanded simultaneously. He could feel the platform in orbit, massive, powerful, awakening after millennia of dormancy. Weapons systems coming online. Targeting sensors scanning the surrounding space. Power cores charging, drawing energy from the planet's magnetic field and solar radiation. It was overwhelming, like suddenly having a second body made of metal and energy, floating in the void of space. He could see everything. The orbital space around P3X 797. The gate network connections. Incoming hyperspace windows, 3 of them, opening simultaneously. Hotak motherships dropping out of hyperspace, Baal's forces arriving exactly as predicted. Baal's here, Jack managed to say through the connection. 3 Hotaks, incoming fast. I can target them. I can feel the weapons charging. It's incredible and terrifying. Can you control it? The doctor asked urgently. Jack focused his thoughts, trying to communicate with the platform. Authorization. Friend. Protect this world. The systems responded, targeting solutions appearing in his mind like mathematical certainties. He could destroy all 3 motherships with sequential shots. But first, I need to establish the Adorans as protected, Jack said. The platform's scanning for threats. If I don't authorize the local population, it might target them as potential hostiles. He projected his thoughts toward the platform. The Adorans. Human. Protected. Friendly. Not threats. The platform sensor swept the planet, identifying the population centers, analyzing biological signatures. After a moment that felt like an eternity, it accepted his designation. The Adorans were now registered as authorized inhabitants under ancient protection protocols. It worked, Jack breathed. The platform recognizes the Adorans as protected. Now for the hard part. In orbit, Baal's 3 Hotak motherships approached P3X 797, weapons charging, deployment bays opening to launch death gliders. The System Lord's voice boomed across communication frequencies. Surrender the ancient control key, Tauri, and I will allow you to leave this world alive. Resist, and I will glass this planet from orbit. Jack smiled grimly, his consciousness split between his body in the ruins and the massive weapons platform in space. Through Sentinel-7's sensors, he could see Baal's mothership clearly, the falcon-headed Goa'uld standing on the Peltak, surrounded by Jaffa warriors. Counteroffer, Jack transmitted through the platform's communication array, his voice amplified to reach Baal's ships. You turn around right now, and I don't turn your motherships into expanding clouds of superheated plasma. This world is under ancient protection. You're trespassing. Baal's laughter echoed across the channel. The ancients are dead, Tauri. Their weapons cannot help you. Want to test that theory? Jack asked. He focused his thoughts, and Sentinel-7 responded. The weapons platform fired a single shot, a brilliant beam of golden energy that lanced across space and struck Baal's flagship shields. The impact was devastating. The shields flared, overloaded, and collapsed. Alarms shrieked across Baal's Peltak, and the mothership's hull glowed red-hot where the beam had struck. That was a warning shot, Jack transmitted. Next one goes through your ship. Leave. Now. There was a long pause. Then Baal's voice, tight with barely controlled rage. This is not over, Tauri. You have made an enemy today that will not forget. The 3 Hotak motherships opened hyperspace windows and jumped away, fleeing before Sentinel-7 could fire again. Jack sagged in the neural link, exhaustion crashing over him. The weapons platform remained active, its systems still connected to his consciousness, but the immediate threat had passed. Baal's gone, he reported. The platform's operational and recognizes the Adorans as protected. I need to disconnect before this fries my brain completely. How? Daniel asked desperately. The doctor stepped forward, sonic screwdriver raised. I can sever the neural link safely. Jack, On 3, think about disconnecting. Visualize stepping away from the platform. 1, 2, 3. The sonic buzzed at a specific frequency, and the neural link collapsed. Jack gasped, stumbling backward as his consciousness snapped back to just his own body. Carter caught him before he fell, and Daniel quickly retrieved the control key from the interface. "Sir, are you okay?" Carter asked. Jack blinked, his eyes returning to normal. Yeah, I think so. That was intense. I could feel the entire weapons platform, every system, every sensor. It was like being a god. He shook his head. No wonder the Goa'uld want this technology. The power is intoxicating. But you controlled it, the doctor said with genuine admiration. You established protection protocols, drove off Baal's forces, and disconnected before the power overwhelmed you. That's remarkable discipline, Colonel. Darius and the Edoran elders had watched in awe. Now Callista spoke, her voice trembling. The ancestors' weapon defended us. You made it recognize us as worthy of protection. You were always worthy, Jack said. Now you've got an ancient weapons platform making sure the Goa'uld know it. A celebration would have felt appropriate, but Jack could see the concern on the doctor's face. What's wrong, Doc? Baal escaped, the doctor said quietly. He now knows Earth has access to ancient weapons platforms and the ability to control them. He'll adapt his strategies, develop countermeasures, and target other ancient sites before we can secure them. We've won this battle, but we've also escalated the war significantly. Jack nodded slowly. Story of our lives. Let's get back to the gate. Hammond needs to know Sentinel-7 is active and P3X-797 is defended. And we need to find those other control keys before Baal does. As they headed back toward the Stargate, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had shifted. They'd secured an ancient weapons platform, protected an allied world, and proven that humans could control ancient technology without destroying themselves. But they'd also revealed their capabilities to one of the most intelligent and dangerous system lords. Baal would be planning his counter-move right now. And when he struck back, it would be with everything he had. The war for ancient technology had begun in earnest. And neither side could afford to lose. The SGC gate room materialized around them as SG-1 and the doctor stepped through from P3X-797. Hammond stood waiting at the base of the ramp, his expression revealing nothing, but Jack could read the tension in his shoulders. Mission successful, sir, Jack reported. Sentinel-7 is active and operational. P3X-797 is defended. We drove off Baal's forces, 3 Hatak motherships, with a single warning shot. The Adorans are registered in the platform's protection protocols. And Colonel O'Neill survived the neural interface without permanent damage, Dr. Fraser added, having rushed forward with her medical scanner. Though I want him in the infirmary immediately for a full neurological workup. Interfacing with ancient technology has caused brain damage in the past. I'm fine, Doc, Jack protested, but let himself be led toward the infirmary anyway. Just feels like I had the galaxy's worst caffeine high and then crashed. Hammond turned to the doctor and Carter. Debrief in 1 hour. I want full technical specifications on Sentinel-7, analysis of Baal's response, and recommendations for locating other ancient weapons platforms before he does. General, the doctor said urgently, we may have a more immediate problem. Baal arrived at P3X-797 within hours of us discovering the control key's purpose. That timing is too precise to be coincidence. Either he has intelligence on our operations. Or we have a security breach, Hammond finished grimly. I've been thinking the same thing. Colonel Reynolds' team was ambushed at ruins Baal was already investigating. You and Major Carter discussed Sentinel-7 in Lab 3C, and Baal's forces appeared at P3X-797 immediately afterward. Someone is feeding him information. Carter's face paled. Sir, if there's a spy in the SGC. Then we find them, Hammond said flatly. Major, I want you and the doctor to sweep Lab 3C for surveillance devices. If someone planted listening equipment, I want it found and analyzed. Colonel O'Neill, once Dr. Fraser clears you, I need you to review security protocols for the past month. Look for anomalies, unauthorized access, unusual communication patterns, anything that suggests infiltration. The Trust, TLC said suddenly. They have infiltrated SGC operations before. It is possible they have returned. The Trust. A shadowy organization that had stolen alien technology and been infiltrated by Goa'uld operatives. Jack swore under his breath. If the Trust is feeding intel to Baal, we're compromised at the highest levels. They had people everywhere last time. Then we assume the worst and act accordingly, Hammond said. All sensitive operations are now codeword classified. No mission details leave this base without my personal authorization. And we sweep every inch of this facility for surveillance devices. The doctor had pulled out his sonic screwdriver, already scanning the gate room. General, if you'll permit me, I can detect most forms of electronic surveillance with this. Goa'uld technology has distinctive energy signatures that, he stopped, his expression darkening. Oh no. What is it? Hammond demanded. The doctor pointed his sonic toward the control room, then down toward the lower levels. There are at least 3 Goa'uld listening devices active in this facility right now. Small, probably disguised as something innocuous, transmitting on subspace frequencies. 1 in the control room, 1 near the laboratories, and 1. He aimed the sonic downward. 1 in the VIP quarters section. Where I've been staying. The implications hit like a physical blow. Someone had planted surveillance devices throughout the SGC, targeting specific high-value areas. They'd been listening to every briefing, every analysis, every strategic discussion. Lock down the base, Hammond ordered sharply. No one leaves. Security teams, sweep for additional devices. And someone get me the head of base security, now. 3 hours later, they'd found 17 Goa'uld listening devices hidden throughout Cheyenne Mountain. 1 had been attached under the lab table where the doctor and Carter analyzed the control key, exactly as the doctor had feared. Others were in briefing rooms, Hammond's office, even the commissary where personnel discussed missions during meals. But finding the devices raised a more troubling question: who had planted them? The devices are Goa'uld design, Carter explained in the briefing room, displaying a disassembled bug on the tactical screen. But they've been modified with Earth technology. Specifically, they're powered by compact batteries and use wireless transmission protocols common in consumer electronics. Someone with knowledge of both Goa'uld and Earth technology built these. The Trust, Daniel said. They've stolen Goa'uld devices before, reverse-engineered them. This fits their profile perfectly. The doctor examined the device with his sonic. The construction is recent, within the past 2 weeks, based on the degradation of the power cell. Someone had access to this facility, planted these devices systematically, and has been transmitting our operational intelligence to Baal ever since. Security logs show no unauthorized access, the head of base security reported, a colonel named Hendricks who looked deeply troubled by the breach. Everyone who entered the SGC during that period had proper clearance and went through standard screening. Then it's someone with authorized access, Hammond said heavily. Someone we trust. Jack hated this part, the suspicion, the paranoia, the knowledge that someone they worked with every day was betraying them. We need to narrow down suspects. Who had access to all the areas where devices were planted? That's our starting pool. That's still over 200 personnel, Hendricks said. Scientists, military, administrative staff, anyone with level 3 clearance or higher could access most of those locations. Then we investigate all of them, Hammond said. Colonel Hendricks, begin comprehensive background checks. Look for financial irregularities, unusual contacts, anything that suggests coercion or compromise. Major Carter, can we trace the transmission signals? Already working on it, sir, Carter replied. The devices transmit on rotating subspace frequencies to avoid detection. But if we can triangulate the receiving station, we might identify where the intelligence is being sent, and potentially who's sending it. The doctor had been quiet, studying the disassembled device with intense focus. Now he spoke up. There's something else. These devices don't just transmit, they also receive. Look at this circuit here, he pointed at a crystalline component, that's a receiver. Someone's been sending instructions to the devices remotely, possibly updating what they're monitoring or when to transmit. Can you trace those incoming signals? Jack asked. Possibly. If they're still active and transmitting, I could follow the quantum signature back to the source with the TARDIS's sensors. She's designed to track temporal and spatial anomalies. Subspace transmissions should be relatively straightforward. The doctor looked at Hammond. General, with your permission, I'd like to use the TARDIS to scan for active Goa'uld transmissions within the surrounding area. If the spy is still sending intelligence to Baal, I can find them. Hammond considered this. Do it. But doctor, if you find the source, you report back immediately. No heroics, no confrontations. We need to identify the spy and their network before we move against them. Understood, the doctor agreed. The TARDIS materialized in the hangar, and the doctor quickly moved to the console, his hands flying across the controls. Jack had insisted on accompanying him, along with TLC for backup if things went wrong. The TARDIS can detect subspace transmissions across vast distances, the doctor explained, adjusting crystalline dials. I'm calibrating her sensors to search for the specific frequency signature of those Goa'uld devices. If someone's actively transmitting right now, we'll find them. The time rotor pulsed as the TARDIS's sensors swept the area. Displays showed mathematical equations and spatial coordinates that Jack couldn't interpret. After several minutes, the doctor's expression shifted to alarm. Got it. Active transmission, approximately 40 kilometers from Cheyenne Mountain. The signal is strong, someone sending large data packets, probably mission reports or strategic analysis. He looked at Jack. The source is in Colorado Springs, civilian area. Residential neighborhood. Can you pinpoint the exact location? Jack asked. The doctor manipulated controls, narrowing the search. Yes. 2847, Pinewood Drive. That's. He pulled up a database on one of the screens. That's registered to Dr. Samantha Kearns, civilian archaeologist consultant. She's been working with the SGC for 3 months on ancient artifact translation. Jack's stomach sank. Dr. Kearns. She'd been helpful, competent, and had clearance to access multiple secure areas including the laboratories. She'd been at the SGC just 2 days ago, consulting with Daniel on ancient inscriptions. We've got our spy, Jack said grimly. TLC, gear up. We're paying Dr. Kearns a visit. The house at 2847, Pinewood Drive looked perfectly ordinary, 2-story suburban home, well-maintained lawn, nothing to suggest it was the center of an espionage operation feeding intelligence to a Goa'uld system lord. Jack and TLC approached from opposite sides, weapons ready but concealed. The doctor had insisted on coming despite Jack's protests, and he approached the front door directly, sonic screwdriver in hand. She's inside, the doctor murmured, scanning with the sonic. One life sign, human. There's also active Goa'uld technology, a long-range subspace transmitter, much more powerful than the listening devices. She's transmitting right now. Then we go in fast, Jack said. TLC. I am ready, TLC confirmed. Jack kicked in the front door with practiced efficiency. They moved through the house in tactical formation. Living room clear, kitchen clear, heading toward the study where the doctor's sonic indicated active transmission. Dr. Kern sat at a desk surrounded by computer equipment and what was clearly Goa'uld technology, crystalline communications devices, Naquata power cells, the works. She looked up as they entered, her expression shifting from surprise to resignation. "Colonel O'Neill," she said calmly. "I was wondering when you'd figure it out." "You've been feeding intelligence to Baal," Jack said, weapon trained on her. "Everything we discussed, every mission, every discovery, you transmitted it all." "Yes," Kearns admitted without hesitation. "And you're too late. Baal already knows about Sentinel-7, about your control of ancient technology, about your plans to search for other weapons platforms. He's preparing a counterstrike as we speak." "Why?" the doctor asked, genuine confusion in his voice. "You're human. Why betray your own species to the Goa'uld?" Kearns laughed bitterly. "Because the Goa'uld are going to win. They've ruled this galaxy for millennia. Earth is a minor nuisance, a temporary irritation. Eventually, the System Lords will crush you. I chose to be on the winning side. Baal promised me power, position, even a symbiote if I wanted one. All I had to do was provide intelligence. You sold out your entire species for a promise from a parasite who lies for a living," Jack said disgustedly. "That's got to be a new low." "It's pragmatism," Kearns retorted. "Earth can't win this war. The Goa'uld are too powerful, too numerous, too entrenched. Better to serve them willingly than be enslaved later." TLC's expression was cold fury. "You know nothing of the Goa'uld or their promises. They lie to gain compliance and discard those who serve them when they are no longer useful. You have betrayed your people for nothing." "We'll see," Kearns said. She suddenly lunged for something on the desk, a small device that looked like a Goa'uld emergency beacon. The doctor was faster. His sonic screwdriver buzzed, and the device sparked and died before Kearns could activate it. "Ring transport beacon," the doctor said. She was going to signal Baal's forces to beam her out. "Nice try." Jack moved forward and secured Kearns with zip ties. "You're under arrest for treason, espionage, and collaboration with enemy forces. You'll be tried by military tribunal, and trust me, they're not going to be sympathetic." As they escorted Kearns out, the doctor examined the Goa'uld transmitter on her desk. "This is sophisticated. She's been sending detailed mission reports, technical specifications, even personal assessments of key personnel. Baal knows everything, our strengths, our weaknesses, our strategies. Then we change strategies," Jack said. "And we use the fact that we know he knows. Feed him disinformation, lead him into traps, turn his intelligence advantage into a vulnerability." "That's actually brilliant," the doctor said with admiration. "Use the compromised channel to mislead him. I like how you think, Colonel." But as they drove back to Cheyenne Mountain with their prisoner, Jack couldn't shake a growing sense of dread. They'd found the spy, yes. They'd secured Sentinel-7 and protected P3X-797. But Baal was smart, adaptable, and now fully aware of Earth's growing capabilities with ancient technology. The System Lord would strike back. And when he did, it would be with everything he had. The question wasn't if Baal would attack, it was where, and whether they'd be ready when he came. In orbit around a distant planet, Baal stood on the peltac of his flagship, reviewing intelligence reports from his spy within the SGC. The transmission had ended abruptly, the human had likely been discovered and captured. No matter. She had already provided everything he needed. The Tauri had activated Sentinel-7. They could control ancient weapons platforms. And they were searching for more. That changed everything. "My lord," his first prime approached. "Shall we launch the assault on P3X-797 as planned?" "No," Baal said thoughtfully. "The Tauri expect retaliation against that world. We will attack elsewhere, somewhere they cannot defend with ancient weapons. Somewhere that will hurt them deeply and demonstrate that their new toys cannot protect them everywhere." Where, my lord? Baal smiled, a cold expression that never reached his glowing eyes. Chulak. The homeworld of the Jaffa rebellion. We destroy Bratak, scatter the rebellion, and remind the galaxy that the System Lords still have power. Let the Tauri defend a farming planet with ancient technology while we crush their allies. It shall be done, my lord. As his forces began mobilizing, Baal allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The Tauri had won a battle. But he would win the war. Ancient weapons or not, Earth could not protect everyone. And when their allies fell, they would understand the true cost of defying the System Lords. The galaxy would remember who the gods were. And it would kneel once more. The warning came at 0300 hours, a frantic transmission from Bratak on Chulak. Jaffa scouts had detected multiple Hatak motherships approaching, far more than a routine patrol. Baal was launching a full-scale assault on the Jaffa rebellion's spiritual heartland. Hammond convened an emergency briefing despite the hour. SG-1 assembled in the briefing room looking disheveled but alert, while the doctor arrived carrying 2 steaming cups of coffee. One for himself, one for Carter, who looked like she'd been working through the night. Bratak reports 5 Hatak motherships entering Chulak's orbit within the hour, Hammond said without preamble. Baal is personally commanding the assault. Intelligence suggests he's bringing overwhelming force, enough Jaffa to occupy the entire planet and crush the rebellion permanently. This is retaliation, TLC said, his voice tight with barely controlled rage. Baal strikes at my people because we humiliated him at P3X 797. He cannot attack that world while Sentinel-7 protects it, so he attacks where we cannot defend. Can we use the weapons platform to help? Daniel asked desperately. Target Baal's ships before they reach Chulak. Carter shook her head. Sentinel-7's range is limited to its local system. Chulak is light years away. We'd need control keys for weapons platforms in that sector, and we don't have them. The doctor had been studying star charts on the tactical display. There's another problem. Even if we could reach Chulak immediately, which the TARDIS could do, 5 Hataks represent thousands of Jaffa warriors. We can't defeat that kind of force with a single SG team or even all of our available personnel. Baal knows this. He's chosen his target specifically because we can't defend it. Then Chulak falls, Jack said bitterly. And with it, the heart of the Jaffa rebellion. No, TLC said firmly. I will not allow my people to be slaughtered while I stand idle. If we cannot defend Chulak with force, we must evacuate the rebellion's leadership through the Stargate. Bratak, the Council of Jaffa Elders, the military commanders, they can continue the fight from other worlds. Baal will have Jaffa securing the Stargate the moment he lands, Carter pointed out. We'd be gating into an active combat zone with no support. Then we use the TARDIS, the doctor said suddenly. She can materialize directly inside Chulak's primary temple, where Bratak and the rebel leadership will be making their stand. We extract key personnel before Baal's forces overrun their position, and we get them to safety. It's not a military victory, but it preserves the rebellion's leadership structure. Hammond looked at the doctor carefully. You'd be taking your vessel directly into a war zone. Baal's forces will be searching for any means of escape. If they detect your TARDIS, they won't understand what it is even if they see it, the doctor replied. And I can materialize inside the temple, extract maybe 24 people maximum, and dematerialize before Baal realizes what's happened. It's risky, but it's our only option to save the rebellion's leadership. Master Bratak would never abandon his warriors while they fight, TLC said. He will refuse evacuation unless his people are also saved. Then we convince him that his survival matters more than pride, Jack said. The rebellion needs leaders. If Bratak dies on Chulak, the movement fractures. If he survives to fight another day, the rebellion continues. He's a warrior, he'll understand tactical retreat. Hammond considered this for a long moment. Finally, he nodded. Colonel O'Neill, you'll accompany the doctor to Chulak via the TARDIS. Your mission is extraction only. Get Bratak and key rebellion leaders out before Baal's forces overwhelm them. TLC, you're going too. Major Carter, Dr. Jackson, you'll remain here and coordinate. If this goes wrong, I don't want to lose my entire flagship team. Sir, Carter began to protest. That's an order, Major. Hammond's tone left no room for argument. Doctor, how quickly can you get them to Chulak? The TARDIS can cross interstellar distances near instantaneously once I've calibrated coordinates, the doctor replied. 10 minutes to prepare, then we're there. Then get moving. Dismissed. The TARDIS interior was cramped with 3 people. Jack and TLC in tactical gear with P-90S and Zats, the doctor at the console working controls with practiced efficiency. The time rotor pulsed as dimensional engines engaged, folding space between Earth and Chulak. This is going to be intense, the doctor warned. We're materializing in the middle of an active battlefield. The moment we arrive, you've got maybe 15 minutes before Baal's forces break through the temple defenses. Find Bratak, convince him to evacuate, get back to the TARDIS. Understood? Understood, Jack confirmed. TLC, you know the temple layout. Get us to Bratak fast. I know every corridor, TLC said. I trained there as a youth. Follow me and stay close. The TARDIS shuddered as dimensional coordinates locked. The doctor pulled a final lever, and they materialized inside Chulak's great temple, the ancient structure that had served as both training ground and spiritual center for the Jaffa for millennia. The sounds of battle were immediate and deafening, staff weapon fire, explosions, shouted orders in Goa'uld, screams of the wounded. The doors burst open and Jack raised his P-90, but TLC stopped him. Wait. These are free Jaffa. 3 Jaffa warriors rushed in, their armor marked with the symbol of the rebellion rather than any system lord. They stopped short, seeing the TARDIS and its occupants. TLC, one warrior exclaimed. How did you? No time, TLC interrupted. Where is Master Bratak? The council chamber, preparing final defenses. Baal's Jaffa have breached the outer walls. We cannot hold much longer. The warrior's expression was grim. We will die with honor, but the rebellion dies with us. Not if we can help it, Jack said. Take us to Bratak. Now. They moved through the temple corridors at a run, TLC leading with the free Jaffa warriors flanking them. The doctor brought up the rear, sonic screwdriver in hand, occasionally using it to seal doors behind them or disrupt electronic locks that might slow their escape. The council chamber was a scene of controlled chaos. Bratak stood at the center, his aged but powerful frame coordinating the defense. Around him, 24 Jaffa elders and military commanders reviewed tactical displays showing Baal's forces systematically overwhelming their positions. TLC, Bratak's weathered face split into a fierce grin. You arrive with impeccable timing, though I fear even your tactical genius cannot save us now. I do not come to fight, Master, TLC said, pain evident in his voice. I come to evacuate you and the rebellion's leadership. We have transportation that can save you, but we must leave immediately. Bratak's expression hardened. I will not abandon my warriors while they fight and die. Your warriors fight so that the rebellion survives, the doctor interjected, stepping forward. I'm the doctor. I understand you don't know me, but TLC trusts me, and right now that has to be enough. Baal brought 5 Hotaks to crush the rebellion's leadership, you specifically. If you die here, the movement fractures. But if you survive, if these commanders survive, the rebellion continues on other worlds. Your death serves Baal. Your survival serves your people. Bratak studied the doctor with sharp intelligence. You speak wisdom. But I am an old warrior. I have lived long enough. Let the young lead. Master, please, TLC said, his voice breaking slightly. You taught me that tactical retreat is not cowardice when it preserves the ability to fight another day. Honor the sacrifice of the Jaffa defending this temple by ensuring their deaths have meaning. Lead the rebellion forward. Do not throw your life away on a gesture. The temple shook as an explosion tore through a nearby wall. Dust rained from the ceiling. Outside, the sounds of battle grew closer. Bratak looked at his assembled commanders, then at TLC, and finally nodded. Very well. We evacuate. But we take as many warriors as your transportation can hold. The TARDIS can fit maybe 30 people if we pack tight, the doctor said. Choose your most essential personnel, leaders, tacticians, those who can rebuild the rebellion elsewhere. Bratak began issuing orders immediately. The assembled commanders organized themselves with military efficiency, selecting key personnel and sending runners to gather additional warriors. Within minutes, 28 Jaffa had assembled in the council chamber, the rebellion's leadership, their most experienced tacticians, and several younger warriors chosen to carry on the fight. Follow me, the doctor said, leading them back through the corridors toward where the TARDIS waited. They were halfway there when Jaffa loyal to Baal burst through a side corridor, a full patrol, staff weapons raising. Jack opened fire immediately, P-90 rounds forcing them to take cover. TLC and the Free Jaffa returned fire with their staff weapons, energy blasts tearing through stone and flesh. Keep moving. Jack shouted. We'll cover you. The doctor ushered Bratak and the other commanders forward while Jack and a handful of Jaffa warriors held the corridor. The firefight was brutal and close, staff weapon blasts superheating the air, P-90 rounds ricocheting off armor. 2 Free Jaffa fell, their sacrifice buying seconds for the others to escape. Jack fell back firing, dropping an empty magazine and slamming in a fresh one. They reached the chamber where the TARDIS sat, that impossible blue box that seemed more ridiculous than ever in the middle of a war zone. Everyone inside, now, the doctor shouted, throwing open the TARDIS doors. The Free Jaffa stared in shock as they entered the dimensionally transcendent interior. Bratak's eyes widened momentarily before his tactical mind reasserted control. Inside. All of you. Quickly. They packed into the TARDIS. 28 Jaffa warriors and leaders, plus Jack, TLC, and the doctor. The console room was impossibly crowded, but everyone managed to fit as Baal's forces poured into the chamber outside. Doctor, any time now would be great. Jack yelled, firing out the door to suppress the incoming Jaffa. The doctor slammed the doors and raced to the console, hands flying across controls. Dematerializing. Everyone hold on to something. The time rotor engaged with its distinctive grinding sound. Staff weapon blast struck the TARDIS exterior, but the shots harmlessly dissipated against dimensional shields. The ancient vessel faded from reality, leaving Baal's Jaffa staring in confusion at the empty space where their targets had vanished. Inside, the Free Jaffa stared around the impossible interior in wonder and shock. Bratak leaned against the console, his expression a mixture of grief and determination. Where do you take us? He asked the doctor. The Takare base on Vorash, the doctor replied, piloting through the time vortex. They've agreed to provide temporary sanctuary for the rebellion's leadership. From there, you can coordinate with your forces on other worlds and plan the next phase of the resistance. The temple falls, Bratak said heavily. Centuries of history, destroyed. The temple is stone, TLC said firmly. The rebellion is people. We saved the people. Chulak's temple can be rebuilt when the Jaffa are free. Spoken like the warrior I trained you to be, Bratak said with a sad smile. You are right, of course. We live to fight another day. He looked at the doctor. This vessel, it is like nothing I have ever seen. What manner of technology is this? Time Lord technology, the doctor said. Dimensional engineering and temporal mechanics. Don't try to understand it all at once, most species find it rather confusing. One of the younger Jaffa commanders spoke up. We are grateful for the rescue. But Baal will claim victory. He will say the rebellion fled in cowardice, that we abandoned our world. Let him claim what he wants, Jack said. The truth is that Baal brought 5 Hotaks to crush a rebellion headquarters, and the leadership escaped right under his nose. That's not our defeat, that's his failure. He wanted to kill you and scatter the rebellion. Instead, you're alive, organized, and ready to keep fighting. That's a win in my book. The TARDIS materialized with a gentle thump. The doctor checked his instruments. Vorash. The TARDIS are waiting for you just outside. The doors opened to reveal a desert landscape and several TARDIS operatives, including Jacob Carter/Selmac. The Free Jaffa filed out, looking around the alien world with expressions ranging from wonder to wariness. Jacob approached Bratak, clasping his arm in the warrior's greeting. Master Bratak. The TARDIS offer sanctuary and support for as long as you need it. Your fight is our fight. And we are grateful, Bratak replied. Though I fear we have lost much this day. You've lost a temple, the doctor said gently. But you've preserved the rebellion's heart, its leaders, its vision, its future. Buildings fall and can be rebuilt. People cannot. You made the right choice, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. Bratak regarded the doctor for a long moment, then nodded. Perhaps the Tauri's allies are as wise as they are strange. Thank you, Doctor. You have saved lives today that will save many more tomorrow. As the Free Jaffa departed with the TARDIS to establish temporary headquarters, Jack, TLC, and the doctor remained by the TARDIS. TLC stared at the desert horizon, his expression unreadable. Are you all right? Jack asked quietly. I watched my homeworld fall to Baal's forces, TLC said. The temple where I trained, where generations of Jaffa learned to serve the false gods and then learned to reject them, it is destroyed. Chulak is occupied once more. I should feel defeated. But? The doctor prompted gently. But Master Bratak lives. The rebellion's leaders survive. And the fight continues. TLC turned to them, his expression hardening with resolve. Baal has won a battle. But the war for Jaffa freedom has not ended. It has merely entered a new phase. And we will ensure that phase ends with the System Lord's fall. That's the spirit, Jack said, clapping him on the shoulder. Now let's get back to the SGC and figure out our next move. Because Baal just escalated things significantly, and we need to respond in kind. They returned to the TARDIS, and the doctor began plotting coordinates for Earth. As the time rotor engaged, Jack allowed himself a moment to process what they'd accomplished. They'd saved the rebellion's leadership from annihilation. They'd denied Baal the decisive victory he'd sought. But they'd also lost Chulak, at least temporarily, and demonstrated that ancient weapons platforms couldn't protect everywhere at once. The war against the Goa'uld had entered a dangerous new phase. Both sides had escalated, Earth with ancient technology, Baal with overwhelming force against vulnerable allies. The stakes were higher than ever. But Jack had faced impossible odds before. And now they had an unexpected advantage. A 900-year-old Time Lord with a ship that could cross the galaxy in moments. That changed the tactical landscape considerably. They weren't going to win this war quickly. But with allies like the Free Jaffa, the TARDIS, the Asgard, and now the Doctor, they had a chance. And sometimes, a chance was all you needed. In orbit around Chulak, Baal stood on his flagship's Peltak, watching his Jaffa forces secure the conquered temple. The victory should have felt complete, the rebellion's headquarters destroyed, the Jaffa scattered. But the rebellion's leadership had escaped, vanishing mysteriously just before his forces could capture them. His first prime approached cautiously. My lord, we search for the escaped rebels, but they have left no trace. It is as if they vanished from existence. The Tauri, Baal said with certainty. They extracted the leadership somehow. That blue box, he'd received reports of a strange vessel materializing and dematerializing during the assault. That must be their method of transportation. Technology one do not recognize. Shall we pursue, my lord? Baal considered this. He had conquered Chulak and dealt a significant blow to the rebellion. But the Tauri had saved the leadership and demonstrated capabilities he didn't understand. The balance of power was shifting in ways he found concerning. No, he said finally. Consolidate our control of Chulak. Strip it of all useful resources and slaves. Let the galaxy see what happens to those who rebel against the System Lords. As for the Tauri, his expression grew calculating. They have revealed their hand. Ancient weapons platforms and mysterious transportation technology. But they cannot be everywhere at once. We will find their weaknesses. And when we strike next, it will be at a target they cannot defend or evacuate. They will learn that defying the System Lords carries a price they cannot afford to pay. As his forces began the systematic occupation of Chulak, Baal planned his next move. The war was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. And the galaxy would tremble before it ended. The briefing room at Stargate Command held the weight of recent events like a physical presence. 2 weeks had passed since the evacuation of Chulak, and the galaxy had shifted in response. Baal occupied the Jaffa homeworld with brutal efficiency, but the rebellion's leadership operated from Takare-protected bases, coordinating resistance across a dozen worlds. Sentinel-7 stood vigilant over P-3X-797, its ancient weapons keeping the Adorans safe from Goa'uld aggression. And in a secure hangar beneath Cheyenne Mountain, a blue police box sat quietly, representing possibilities that the Stargate program was only beginning to understand. General Hammond stood at the head of the table, reviewing status reports with the measured calm of a commander who'd weathered countless storms. SG-1 sat around him, Jack nursing coffee, Carter reviewing technical readouts, Daniel organizing research materials, TLC maintaining his stoic presence. The doctor occupied a chair at the far end, sonic screwdriver resting on the table beside a half-eaten sandwich, looking more comfortable in SGC operations than anyone had expected after only a month. The intelligence analysis is complete, Hammond said, closing his tablet. Baal's occupation of Chulak has sparked retaliation from rival System Lords who see it as territorial expansion. Apophysa's remaining forces have engaged Baal's fleet in 3 separate skirmishes. The Goa'uld Empire is fracturing into open civil war over ancient technology, which gives us a strategic advantage. They're fighting each other instead of focusing on Earth, Jack summarized. That's good for us, at least short term. Indeed, TLC agreed. But Master Bratak warns that Baal grows stronger with each victory. He has claimed 6 ancient artifacts from various worlds, though none as powerful as weapons platforms. The rebellion estimates he controls technology that could threaten even the Asgard if properly deployed. The doctor had been listening carefully, his expression thoughtful. The problem with ancient technology is that it was designed by a civilization that had ascended beyond physical concerns. They built weapons and tools without considering the ethical implications for younger species finding them. It's like giving children the keys to a starship, technically impressive but potentially catastrophic. Which is why we need to locate other control keys before Baal does, Carter said, pulling up a star map on the display screen. Based on our analysis of Sentinel-7's database, there are at least 23 known ancient weapons platforms scattered across this galaxy. Some are dormant like Sentinel-7 was. Others may have been destroyed or lost. But if even half are operational and Baal finds their control keys, he'd have a defensive network that makes him effectively invincible while being able to strike anywhere in the galaxy, Daniel finished. We can't let that happen. Hammond nodded. Which brings us to our next phase of operations. The President has authorized expanded missions to locate and secure ancient technology before hostile forces can claim it. SG teams will be prioritizing ancient sites, and the doctor has agreed to continue as consultant for these operations. The doctor smiled slightly. I've been traveling the galaxy for centuries, but I've never quite worked with a team like this before. You're reckless, brilliant, and completely unpredictable, in the best possible way. I'd be honored to continue helping, especially if it means keeping ancient weapons out of the hands of parasitic false gods. Your contributions have been invaluable, Hammond said formally. The TARDIS's ability to reach distant worlds instantly has already proven critical. Your knowledge of ancient technology has accelerated our research by months, possibly years. And your diplomatic skills have strengthened our alliances with the Free Jaffa and Takare. You've more than earned your place here, Doctor. Jack leaned back in his chair, studying the Time Lord. You saved Bratak and the rebellion's leadership when nobody else could. You helped us activate Sentinel-7 and protect the Adorans. And you caught our spy before more damage could be done. Not bad for someone who crashed into our gate room by accident. Well, the TARDIS does have a habit of taking me where I need to be rather than where I intend to go, the doctor replied with a grin. Perhaps she knew you needed help. Or perhaps she just liked the look of your Stargate. She's always been fascinated by ancient technology, says it reminds her of home. Your ship has opinions? Carter asked, fascinated despite herself. She's sentient, more or less. It's complicated. The doctor patted the table affectionately, as if the TARDIS could feel it from the hangar below. But yes, she approves of working with you. Which is good, because I trust her judgment more than my own most of the time. Daniel spoke up, his academic curiosity evident. Doctor, you mentioned that Time Lords and Ancients had similar approaches to certain problems. Do you think there's a connection between your civilizations? Could the Ancients have encountered Gallifrey? The doctor's expression grew distant. It's possible. The Ancients traveled extensively before they ascended, and Time Lords explored the universe long before humans evolved on Earth. We might have crossed paths at some point in the deep past. The dimensional engineering principles are remarkably similar. Both civilizations understood that space and time are more flexible than most species realize. But whether that's convergent evolution of ideas or actual knowledge exchange. He shrugged. I may never know. Gallifrey is gone, and the Ancients have ascended beyond easy communication. The room fell quiet for a moment, respecting the grief implicit in his words. Then Hammond spoke, bringing them back to present concerns. Our immediate priorities are clear. We continue defending P3X-797 and monitoring Sentinel-7. We coordinate with the Free Jaffa on guerrilla operations against Baal's occupation of Chulak. We search for additional ancient control keys and weapons platforms. And we maintain vigilance against espionage. Dr. Kearns has been transferred to military custody and is facing trial, but there may be other compromised personnel. What about the Adorans? Daniel asked. They've been exposed to the reality of the Goa'uld and galactic politics. How are they adapting? Better than expected, Jack replied. Darius and the Council have organized defensive training. Their volunteers are competent with P90S now, and they've established watch rotations around the gate. They know Sentinel-7 protects them from orbital attack, but they're not taking chances with ground forces. They're brave people, the doctor added. I visited last week to check on the sensor networks. They've integrated the defensive technology we provided with their agricultural cycles. Watch duties rotate through the community so nobody neglects their farming. It's actually quite clever. They're adapting to their new reality without losing their cultural identity. TLC inclined his head. They understand that freedom requires vigilance. It is a lesson that Jaffa learned slowly and painfully. The Adorans are fortunate to have allies who can teach them before the cost becomes too great. Hammond stood, signaling the briefing's end. SG-1, you have new mission assignments waiting. Doctor, my office in 1 hour, we need to discuss the technical specifications for your proposed sensor network that could detect ancient technology activations across the sector. Everyone else, dismissed. As the team filed out, the doctor lingered, looking at the star map still displayed on the screen. Thousands of planets, millions of possibilities, and somewhere out there, ancient secrets waiting to be found or misused. Jack paused at the door. "You coming, Doc?" In a moment, the doctor replied. "Just thinking about how remarkable this all is. A few weeks ago, I was wandering the galaxy alone, trying to make small differences where I could. Now I'm part of a team fighting a war against parasitic tyrants who enslave entire civilizations. It's terrifying and exhausting and absolutely necessary." "Welcome to the Stargate program," Jack said with a slight smile. "We specialize in terrifying, exhausting, and necessary. You'll fit right in." The doctor grinned and followed Jack out of the briefing room. Behind them, the star map continued displaying ancient sites scattered across the galaxy, mysteries waiting to be solved, weapons waiting to be secured, and worlds waiting to be saved or lost. In the TARDIS hangar, the blue box hummed softly, her consciousness aware of the humans who'd adopted her Time Lord as part of their strange military family. She could feel the Stargate's energy signature several levels above, that familiar taste of wormhole technology that reminded her of home. Two forms of spacefolding, two civilizations' approaches to exploring the infinite, meeting here, now, for purposes neither had anticipated. The TARDIS approved. Her doctor needed this, purpose beyond wandering, allies beyond companions who inevitably left, a cause that mattered beyond the immediate crisis. These humans were fighting for freedom, for knowledge, for the right to explore the stars without fear. That was worth protecting. She pulsed her lights gently, a message her Time Lord would understand when he returned, ready for the next adventure. Ready to help them save their galaxy. Ready to make a difference together. Somewhere in the vastness of space, ancient weapons platforms drifted in silent orbits, waiting for activation codes that would awaken them to purpose or destruction. Goa'uld System Lords plotted and schemed, their empire fracturing under the weight of civil war and human resistance. The Free Jaffa regrouped and planned their next strikes, inspired by leaders who refused to surrender. The Takare whispered secrets and sabotaged from within, their long game continuing. And on Earth, a unique alliance had formed. Humans with courage and determination, augmented by a Time Lord with 900 years of experience and a ship that could cross galaxies in heartbeats. The Stargate program had gained an ally whose capabilities were barely understood but already proven invaluable. The Doctor had entered the Stargate universe by accident, drawn by dimensional interference he couldn't resist. He'd stayed by choice, recognizing in Earth's defenders the same spirit that had driven the Time Lords at their best. The desire to explore, to protect, to stand against tyranny regardless of the cost. The war against the Goa'uld was far from over. Baal would strike again with increasing sophistication. Other System Lords would seek ancient technology. The balance of galactic power would continue shifting in dangerous and unpredictable ways. There would be losses, setbacks, moments of despair when the enemy seemed overwhelming. But there would also be victories. Worlds saved, people freed, ancient mysteries solved for good rather than evil. The Stargate network connected thousands of planets, each one a potential ally, each one worth defending, each one a chapter in humanity's larger story of rising from slavery to become defenders of the galaxy. The Doctor understood that story. He'd lived variations of it across countless worlds and civilizations. And now, in this galaxy, at this time, he'd found his place in this particular telling. The TARDIS doors would open again soon, and he'd step through with SG-1 to face whatever challenges awaited beyond the Stargate. There would be danger and impossible odds and moral choices that kept him awake at night. There would also be companionship and shared purpose and the satisfaction of making a real difference in the fight for freedom. It was exactly where a Time Lord should be. Exactly where the Doctor needed to be. And the adventure, the real adventure, was only beginning. The Stargate would dial new addresses. The TARDIS would travel to distant worlds. And together, Earth's defenders and their impossible ally would write new chapters in the ongoing war for freedom among the stars. Indeed. More stories awaited. More worlds to save. More tyrannies to topple. More people to protect. And the Doctor, the 900-year-old Time Lord in a blue box, would be there for all of it, standing with humanity against the darkness, just as he'd always done. Indeed. Hit that subscribe button for more stories.